Welcome in, everyone. Thank you for being here. I just want to say before we get started with the game today that I just really appreciate everyone who shows up to stream, who lurks, who chats, who's just here just to chill out. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who watches us back on YouTube, who stays and listens to this in the background. I hope you're enjoying it. One other thing, so I changed the mic settings by just dragging the audio thingy up. So hopefully now you can hear me, and when I hit my high screeches, you'll be able to hear it. I'm gonna back up from the mic. Hopefully I'm not too loud. Let me know if I'm too loud and I'll try to turn it down. But other than that, let's get into it. We stopped in the middle of our thing because last time I just had to go. I was really tired. Going forward, I think I'm just gonna do 2-hour max streams because I just physically I'm not capable of doing longer streams. I don't think. I'd love to do a streamathon, but I don't think I can. It's just it takes a lot out of me. Oh, we're just thrown in it. I don't remember what we were talking about last time though. With a sense of style like that, you'd have to have turned a few heads. With a personality like yours, you must have stood out. Did you feel out of place there? You didn't comment. With a personality like yours, you must have stood out. I have no idea what we're talking about. Baxter chortled. Now, what could you possibly mean by that? No, while my level of openness and candor might not be strictly de rigueur in such a rustic setting, it's not quite what I meant. What did you mean? Because I don't know what I meant. He hummed thoughtfully into... Oh, hold on. You can't hear the game music. How silly of me. He hummed thoughtfully and tapped his chin with the forefinger, trying to find precisely the right words. After a moment's pause, he continued. You have to understand that this is a small rural town. A fair number of the residents are working class. There are some more affluent areas, but I suppose you could say that my family has a reputation in those parts as the local people of means. Or perhaps, to put it in more vulgar terms, you're rich. He snapped his fingers. Precisely. And for better or worse, everyone knows it. If you were to go there and pass my name around, anyone would know who you were talking about. He gave me a meaningful look as he said this. Please don't do that. It might embarrass even me. You got the sneaky suspicion that it wasn't really his own fluster he was concerned about. He waved a hand with great indifference, as if to lazily swat his own words out of the air. You figured that this was all he felt like saying on the subject. If I'm ever in town, I promise I won't throw your acclaimed name around. Thank you. You didn't go out of your way on my account, although if you are ever in the area. His smile took on an air of boyish amusement. I'm not planning on being in Golden Grove anytime soon. But all the same, I get the feeling it might not be long before I meet you there, one way or another. Who can say? No, I am alluding to the game. With that, his voice trailed off and his gaze drifted to the middle distance in contemplation. Having asked all the questions about Baxter's home you could think of, a final thought occurred to you. You know, I had pegged you as a city boy. Would you call yourself a woodsy kind of person? So you're definitely not a sun, sea, and sand guy, huh? I'm guessing fall is your favorite season. I could, and I feel like I should. I feel like I understand Baxter word a bit better now. I'm guessing fall is your favorite season. He gave a wistful smile which seemed to ache with memories of autumn reds and golds. Indeed it is. As the day went on, in the idle pauses and quiet minutes after this conversation, you'd catch yourself pondering the strange man you were coming to know. More and more you felt as though Sunset Bird formed a vital part of your emotional core. Happiness to you was the sound of waves on the shore, the feeling of warm sand between your toes. There was something so sentimental about the bright summer days that seemed to stretch on to eternity, only to draw to a close in the end. Maybe you'd forever be seeing the world through sea glass. But Baxter was another person entirely. For him, perhaps the world was monochrome, or maybe it was golden, but with the color of leaves instead of sand. Talking with him made it impossible to ignore just how different your lives had been up until now, how separate your worlds were, all up until that moment when he showed up on your street. Now your lives are intertwined. However briefly, the forest and the sea foam commingling. Ew. I hate that word. I hate the way it looks. Though you knew his love was in the trees and the fall air, you couldn't help but feel happy that he'd wandered his way down to the shore. To you. From there, you and Baxter continued poking around until he'd browsed every shop on the path. He even doubled back around, leading you all the way across again for a second glance. Despite the short length, it was easy to miss something even after a dozen passes through because the area was so packed. But Baxter was satisfied with going through twice. He came to a halt at the end of the path, his attention leaving the shops and landing on you.
Thank you once more for showing me this place, and for the gift.
You're welcome. He held up the bag with his souvenir safely hidden inside.
This truly has been a fantastic stop on my California sightseeing extravaganza.
He inclined his head gracefully. The shopping street was officially a hit. It was nothing. Glad it didn't disappoint you. I'm not sure if it's really exciting. Give him a thumbs up, you shrugged. Yeah, glad it didn't disappoint you.
Nothing this charming could ever disappoint me. Now, I suppose I need to hold up my side of the bargain. I said I'd show you somewhere new, didn't I? Are you still interested in joining me in checking off an outing on my own goal list?
Yeah, I'm not dishing you now.
Fantastic. In that case, we'll need to return to the neighborhood.
He sauntered off into the correct direction before clarifying what his plan was, leaving you to trail behind him. With your brain abuzz over all the places he could possibly be taking you, you mentally said goodbye to your old friend, the shopping street. You made it back to Baxter's rented condo and climbed into his also rented car. He brought up directions on his phone, though was careful not to let you catch a glimpse of the destination. He didn't even give you a hint. Then Baxter slipped his phone into the car handle slot for future reference and began the drive. You relaxed in Baxter's passenger seat, attempting to puzzle out where he was actually taking you. He was in a good mood, but any attempt at asking about the plan resulted in increasingly coy answers. After how many questions of yours he'd been answering, it was funny to have him suddenly act as if he'd never heard of the concept of sharing information with another person. You didn't push it. Inevitably, the veil of secrets would be removed. You only had to be patient. However, when he finally turned into a parking lot, you admitted it was not what you had been expecting, even if you didn't know what to expect. It was still something you would not have guessed in a million years. What is it? Did he take me to a carnival? On the top of the spacious building was a human-sized white pin. The place he'd wanted to sightsee was a bowling alley. A bowling alley? Is he any good? With the thingies down, the lanes down, what are they called? Are they called the lanes? No, the lane is the lane. The bumpers. That's what they're called. Is he good with the bumpers down? I'm not that great with the bumpers down, but I try my best. Baxter led you to the entryway on air-light feet. Even from there, you could hear the clattering of normal-sized pins getting knocked down. Normal-sized pins? Are there small pins too? Cutting into the disco tunes playing in the background. The front desk advertised rates for paying per game versus per hour. Along the wall, a tower of shelves held dozens of shoes in all sorts of sizes, and past there was the shining alleys.
Here we are.
He was content, as if bowling was all his soul needed to find peace. Have we been here before? I can't recall. I have been to a bowling alley before. I'm sorry, this isn't new. I've been bowling before. How did you know I've never gone bowling? A bowling alley isn't what most people think of as sightseeing. You were at a loss. I'm gonna say this one. This is normal Monday night stuff.
Sightseeing is all about the sights you want to see.
He glanced at you glanced at sparkling floors, walls, balls, and even couches. It was certainly a sight. I feel like they should have made that rhyme. What rhymes with walls and balls? Calls? Walls, balls, and even calls.
Personally, I've never been bowling in my life.
You haven't?
I wanted to try it for longer than I can remember, and well, what better opportunity than when I'm on vacation? Wouldn't it be so much stranger to try whilst I live my regular life? The life that I must remind you never had bowling in it before? It would be entirely unexplainable. Here, I'm a tourist, doing new things as part of my job description. Do you have a job? That's a real question. Do you have a job? I mean, I won't argue with that logic. It's okay to have fun at home too. It's definitely okay to have fun at home too. I haven't been in a bowling alley in like a year. Maybe two. Maybe I should pretend to be a tourist too if they can do whatever they want. No one likes the tourists who act as if real life doesn't matter on vacations. You nod acceptingly. It's okay to have fun at home too. You're right, of course. But he was less sure than usual, like some of the boldness you associated with him had been extinguished. Aw. It's easier said than done to always live limitlessly. I guess. Going bowling didn't seem that limiting. You hoped he wouldn't stop living happily when he left town. There wasn't a question you were willing to ask, though. Hanging out with Baxter, seeing firsthand how he was living, you were compelled to ask yourself, had you really done everything you wanted to? You were reminded of the fact that your time in Sunset Bird had its own limits, and you could very well be reaching the end of that line soon. This would be the last summer you had before becoming an adult, before taking your first step into everything that lay beyond. Sometimes, lying awake in bed at night, you would feel the tension like a bubble in your chest, the worry, the excitement, the anticipation of what the future might hold. Before that, how could you make the most of what remained? You weren't sure how to answer those questions, but in the current occasion, at least, you didn't have the chance to ponder them further. Baxter chimed in again. Your train of thought evaporated. Since we're on the subject, Princeton, have you ever done this before? Bowling, I mean. I've bowled before. I see. But have you been to this particular bowling alley? I know it's quite new. What? You glanced at the sparkling floors, walls, balls, and even couches. It certainly was recently made. Not a thing had any sign of wear and tear, and none of it was familiar. I suppose. No, I haven't been. Baxter smirked victorious. So I did bring you somewhere you'd never seen before. All right, you tried. I'll give you this one. Thank you. I'll take what I can get. Now then, should we get in line? They seem to be popular today. Or perhaps this is considered a slow day? I have no basis of comparison. But we might be waiting for Elaine. It's all right. The two of you joined the queue at the counter. Though the bowling alleys were indeed full, you got your booking in and were handed rental shoes for when opening came. Baxter flashed you a charming smile and insisted on paying. I did not know bowling alleys were hot these days. You know what? That's not true. Bowling alleys still are very popular for some reason. I'm not saying, like, for some reason, like, they shouldn't be, but, like, I would just assume they wouldn't be. They're fun, but, like, at the same time, they're okay. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe a bowling alley. Like, they feel like a mall. Like, malls, you, like, walk around with your friends when you're a teenager. But, like, they're closing down, and so, like, to me, bowling alleys are like malls. You get, like, what I'm saying? Okay, let's move on. Since you were so generous as to give me a keepsake. Fine, I paid at my spot, I guess you can at yours. Exactly. You laced up your shoes for a sec, and that was it in terms of finishing preparation. There was time aptly to kill before your round would begin. Well, since you were here, let's get a snack. I was wondering what your family's like. Where are you studying in college? So what's up with the black and white thing? You stay quiet for a bit. What are you studying in college? I'm studying for a business administration and management degree. The expectation is that I will manage and or administrate at some company in the future. Oh, good for you. He tilted his head, aware of the silly way he'd put it. Nothing too specific, I'm afraid. That sounds cool, though. Wow, I would never have guessed. Studies going well? Management, huh? Do you enjoy it, then? Your studies going well? I'd say so, yes. Of course, I've only completed a few semesters worth, so it's early days yet. So you've only taken, like, your basic classes, then. Got it. Counting my eggs before they've hatched would be a bad habit for an aspiring administrator to develop. It might not surprise you to know that I can be a touch particular. I know the importance of coherence, with individuals acting in a well-coordinated fashion. And I like things to function well for systems to operate smoothly. I confess, you could call me controlling at times. Not with people, but with processes. Especially when it comes to enacting plans. I'd much rather act under my own steam than follow someone else's lead.
You know what? I feel that. I would rather... No. Because I'm tired of making decisions. But people make decisions wrong. And I'm like, it's stressing me out. People make wrong decisions all the time. And I'm like, why did you make that decision? I wouldn't have done it that way. But, like, I don't want to be in charge. It's like, why can't you just make the decision I would make without me having to be in charge? That's how I feel. Like, personally.
I'm only flexible with the personal, not the business aspects of my life. He spreads his palms matter-of-factly. But that's enough about my aspirations. You know my story, so what about you, Princeton? I'm curious to know what the world has in store for you further down the line.
I just graduated high school.
Oh, really? My congratulations. It's an achievement to be proud of. If it's not too much to ask, where do you see yourself next? College? Straight into a career, perhaps?
I'm going to tell him about my future plans. I don't mind. You had no problem discussing your plans with others in the past. There wasn't a reason that Baxter should be any different. At your reply, Baxter moved in slightly, his eyes sparkling. Oh, are they? Since you'd responded positively, he had no qualms about letting his curiosity show. Oh, he's so cute. I'm a little bit like you. My plan is to study at a private college, but I also wanted to pick up full-time work so my parents aren't covering everything. Baxter attentively waited for you to finish and then nodded encouragingly.
I think that it's wonderful that you have something you're aspiring to already. I wish you the best of luck. It's an exciting thing taking the first steps on your journey. You truly never know just where you'll end up. Take me, for instance. I had never lived outside of my hometown until I left for college, and look at me now. All of a sudden, I'm in California, of all places, cavorting about with a charming new friend.
Oh, just friends? Okay. His brown eyes meet yours briefly.
Isn't that delightful? Life is nothing if not full of unexpected developments. I'd like to think we're doing what we can to make the most of that. I don't have to be here, and you could have pretended no one new had appeared in your small town and gone on as usual.
That's kind of you to say. Sometimes I wish I had your confidence. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. You sighed over your thoughts of the future. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next.
I'm glad to hear it. I feel the same about finding out where things go from here and now. Besides, we've only been talking about work and school and such. There's much more to life than that. The world would be altogether too dull otherwise. You might not remember me mentioning it when we first met, but my most fulfilling hobby is ballroom dancing. It's a true passion of mine.
You seem to remember him saying something along those lines.
It's important to have genuine hobbies, don't you think?
He was right. You had your volunteer work, for example. He was right. You had your pastimes you loved, too. Speaking of hobbies, I like to read, I like to play games. Now, what is a game? I like to spend my time at the beach. I like to play games. Baxter inclined his head attentive to your words.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
How would you? I never told you.
I'd be glad to hear more about it sometime, if you'd care to elaborate further. I can't say I have any experience in the area myself.
If I'm being honest, I do want to pursue it as a career somehow. That'd be nice. It's something I really enjoy. It doesn't have to make me money. Yeah.
I feel the same way about ballroom dancing. It's something that has intrinsic value to me beyond the potential to earn a living from it. Although, to be clear, it isn't entirely devoid of, shall we say, remunerative benefits.
That was a word I have not seen before. His tone took on a sly edge, and his eyes brightened with amusement.
For those with a certain level of skill, there's some money to be had in the competitive scene, prize winnings and such.
Hey there, I thought we weren't talking about money. I've been tricked. Baxter laughed heartily, his face apologetic.
I'm sorry to have deceived you, but I wasn't lying when I described it as a true passion of mine. Any additional compensation is nothing more than a fringe benefit.
That's okay. I forgive you.
I'm most grateful, and thank you for indulging me on the topic. I had fun.
The conversation successfully filled the waiting period, and an attendant suddenly called you over. A lane was free.
Excellent. Thank you.
Together, you headed over to the rack of house balls where Baxter began to size them up.
So, they come in different weights? Interesting.
He touched a forefinger to his chin, pondering the choice carefully. Be careful. I know that you have, like, disinfectant, but, like, how good is that disinfectant? You know? You picked a heavier ball, no sweat, medium ball, moderation was key, a lighter ball, better safe than sorry, a medium ball. Not too heavy, not too light. You picked up one mid-weight ball, one of the mid-weight balls that was just right exactly. When you go bowling, what ball do you get? Do you get a heavier ball, a lighter ball? I get a ball that my fingers can fit into. Whichever I see first, I put my fingers in it, and if it don't hurt, I pick it up, and that's my ball. I use anybody's ball, honestly. I might pick a ball, but if I see a ball that I'm like, you know what, this ball looks good, I'm gonna use it. And if anybody says any shit, I'd be like, pick a different ball, or wait for your ball to come back. But that's just me. That's just me when I go bowling. We haven't gotten any snacks, though. When you go bowling, you have to get snacks. What would you say your guys' favorite bowling snack is? I'm not gonna say nachos. Chicken tenders, maybe? Or curly fries? I remember I went bowling with my parents, my dad and my stepmom. I was like 20, 21, 22 at this time, so I was able to drink, and they had never seen me drink before. And I slammed that drink back so hard. I had gone through like a really bad breakup, and they took me bowling. Of all things to do after a breakup, to take someone bowling. But yeah. So I slammed that drink back so hard. I don't even remember if I had the bumpers up or not, but I had a good experience. I don't even remember what I ate. I think I did have nachos. I think I did have nachos while bowling. Okay, not too heavy, not too light. You picked up one of the midweight balls that was just right. It was a dark ebony black. Seeing your choice, Baxter nodded approvingly.
That is a solid option. The best of both worlds, right? Easy to hold, yet with sufficient weight to give it some momentum. I think I will follow your lead.
Baxter picked up an identical ball. Baxter picked up an identical ball, flashing you a wry smile.
It's even the right color. Now, care to take the first shot?
Sure. Can I enter my name in first, though? Like, we didn't even enter our names in. Sure, I can go first. How about you start? I'd rather not go first, but that's okay. If that's what you want, I'll do it. Sure, I'll go first.
Marvelous. I'm looking forward to this. Best of luck, Princeton.
Thank you. Mr. Monochrome. Why am I calling him Mr. Monochrome? Mr. Monochrome takes a seat on the striking red couch to watch. Him and that couch together almost look like some kind of modern art display. But you weren't at a gallery. You were at a bowling alley, and he was waiting for you. You eyed the pins at the far end of the lane, gauging the distance. A breath in, a breath out. You raised the ball behind you, took a few steps forward, then swung. That's not how I bowl at all. I bowl and, like, between my legs, and I just, like, throw it out. I don't bowl like a normal person because I'm weird. I'm strange. I don't know, something about bowling like a normal person just feels weird and wrong to me. Like, I feel like I'm being judged if I don't bowl how it feels right. Strike, nice. You know what? I'm gonna give myself a strike. Why not? The pins... Why wouldn't I give myself a strike? Why wouldn't I be perfect? The pins flew in all directions with that satisfying clatter. You were pretty good at the game, all told. It should be a piece of cake. Baxter applauded enthusiastically, his brows raised in admiration.
Very well done. An impressive first move.
Your hit had struck Baxter as well, though after that initial amazement, he pulled a comically pained expression, grimacing with all his teeth.
I suppose I had better prepare myself for a total victory on your part. Hadn't you considered going easy on me?
He was kidding. You played along with this new game and huffed. I hadn't, but hey, maybe you'll get lucky. And your turn was over. You took a seat on the faux leather just as Baxter limbered up for his first shot of the game.
All right then, let's see how this goes, shall we?
He turned the ball over in his hands a few times as though it were an alien object. You eventually figured out he was searching for the holes to put his fingers through. Sometimes I don't even use the holes. I know I said that I pick whichever ball my fingers fit into, but sometimes the holes in the ball, they're just there. Sometimes you just gotta roll the ball. Sometimes you gotta put a spin on the ball and you gotta roll it. Sometimes you don't even need the holes. It was more than obvious that he'd never so much as touched a bowling ball before. After more fumbling, he managed to work out the grip. He's so cute.
Wish me luck.
Not one for hesitation, Baxter took a couple large strides and sent the ball rolling. It hurtled down the lane straight on at first.
Oh dear.
You watched as the ball curved massively to one side. It reached the end of the lane barely. It clipped the very back corner pin, which fell over right as the ball dropped into the gutter. Oh. 1 point for Baxter. He turned to you and grimaced playfully.
Can you tell this is new to me?
It's okay.
Thank you. Well, here's hoping I do a touch better than that.
Why didn't we put the bumpers up? He deserves bumpers. Baxter retrieved his ball and rolled his shoulders, taking form in front of the lane. His brow was furrowed in concentration. He wasn't as hasty as before. He took his time to line up the next shot. 1 step, 2 step, a 3rd step, and release. It shot off like a cannonball barreling ahead. It still curved slightly at the last moment to knock one of the center right pins head on. 5 more points. Woo! Go Baxter! Baxter nodded to himself, satisfied at the improvement. I'm satisfied at your improvement, too.
60% success is plenty for a first attempt. It's all part of the learning process.
Exactly, babes.
I must say, I'm enjoying myself so far. Your turn, Princeton.
As the game proceeded, you and Baxter settled into a rhythm. You exchanged friendly chatter between frames, with the odd quip or moment of celebration thrown in. It was a comfortable way to pass the afternoon. In an idle moment, you found yourself wondering more about Baxter again. The two of you would be there for a while yet, and if you felt inclined, it wouldn't be too hard to strike up a more in-depth conversation. You chuckled to yourself at the convenient pun. I was wondering what your family was like. Baxter straightened up properly. He guessed you would ask about this sooner or later.
It's not the most exciting story all told. My immediate family consists of my mother and father and myself. For better or worse, I'm an only child. That tends not to surprise people.
Yeah, I can tell. His voice took on a slightly lifting quality, as if he was reciting something he'd practiced many times over.
In many ways, my parents are the prototypical example of success. They're affluent, sophisticated, and have a wide-reaching and influential social circle. As families go, I suppose I'd have to say that we were a happy set.
As sometimes happened with Baxter, you weren't convinced he was giving you the whole picture. You couldn't help but give him a curious look. What about not in general? His eyes narrowed knowingly, and his mouth pressed into a thin smirk.
I can see you're not content. I love my parents, but that's not to say that there aren't complaints to be had. It's a mutual feeling.
Oh, damn. What have you done, Baxter?
They understand care through the lens of control and protection. That's been their way ever since I was young. In that sense, they treat me no different from a child.
You know what? Fair. I feel that.
But, of course, they are quiet, educated, esteemed, and a tad old, as in their company most days. That's not the environment to act as a kid. That meant I've always been expected to behave with the maturity of someone their own age, or perhaps even older somehow. A bit of a paradox, isn't it? Do everything as an adult would while getting the respect of an infant does.
Oh my god, I feel that completely. That's how I get treated now. I'm 27. Just because I'm disabled does not mean I need to be treated like a baby. Like... My parents treat me like I'm 10, and I'm like, I'm 27. Let me live my life. You guys don't know this, but when me and Gil started dating, which was like almost 5 years ago, so I was in my 20s. I was 23. I was 22 going on 23. When I tell you, my mom grounded me because I was out past 12 a.m. I came home at 1 in the morning and she grounded me as a 22, 23-year-old. Crazy work. It's crazy work being me. Like, what could I have done? I couldn't do anything. I couldn't drive. I was stuck in the house. It's like I couldn't go anywhere anyway. And then my parents refused to take me to therapy all the time. So you like understand where I'm coming from sometimes. Like, I want you guys to know I'm fucked up because my parents treat me like this. As for me, I think of myself as much more of a free spirit at heart. I'm my own person. I like to enjoy life in whatever way I see fit. You could say I'm a bit of a rebel. He said it almost furtively, like he divulged some important personal secret. I can see that. You're the politest rebel I've ever met. Ooh, so you're a bad boy. I wouldn't have put you down as a troublemaker. You nodded. Oh, so you're a bad boy. He grinned, leaned closer, and met your gaze with a meaningful look. There was a heat to it that spread all the way to the pit of your stomach. The very worst. You're courting danger simply by being near me. His voice dropped a fraction lower. I don't know if I can go lower.
That makes you something of a rebel, too.
A heartbeat. A pause. Then he broke eye contact and moved away. When his gaze returned to you, his usual affable smile returned with it. Speaking of your parents, where are they now? You didn't mention them visiting Sunset Bird.
They're at home, most likely. I don't know for sure.
Oh, hello. There's a doggy. Huh? That was odd to you. Why did Baxter come to you here during his semester off instead of going back to his family home?
I didn't want to stay with them, or go back to Oregon at all, in fact. More rebellious behavior on my part, you see.
His tone was a strange mixture of proud and diffident. Like he knew how frivolous it sounded, but he had decided to own it anyway.
Mother and father agreed to me vacationing on my own, but under the condition that they would have the choice of where I stayed. California being fairly close by, and Sunset Bird being so quaint, not to mention our prior excursions to the area, they concluded that this was the easiest way to keep me out of trouble. They had it all planned out, a safe summer holiday for their only child.
You couldn't help but be surprised at that. He'd said a similar thing when you two first met, actually, that his parents had sent him here to keep it from being exciting. Sure, Sunset Bird was small and sleepy for the most part, but it was still the California coast, and Prisma Vista City was right there. Prism Vista City. What a town name. What part of that was unexciting, especially since he had his own rental car? What do you normally do if a summer in SoCal is unexciting? As you posed this question to him, Baxter's casual demeanor underwent a change. His customary relaxed smile took on a wickedly sharp edge, and his eyes flashed with a devilish mischief. He's hoeing about, ain't he? He's hoeing about. I knew it. I knew he couldn't be trusted. The change was so surprising that you couldn't help but imagine what his prim and proper parents would think if they were here to see it. He shifted closer, conspiratorially, and spoke in a hushed voice.
Do you know what the legal age requirement is for renting a car in the state of California?
No, I don't. I don't actually. Why are you asking me that? What do you know that I don't know, Baxter? You suddenly felt nervous. There was a very important detail you were missing out on. Baxter maintained his aura of calm and answered with a measured tone.
I asked because it helps explain my parents' behavior. For your information, the minimum age is 21.
He said it totally casual, almost without inflection.
I, however, am 19.
It took a moment for his words to register. Wait, Baxter was 19, and the legal age for renting a car was... Oh. You were... Jax, why would you do this to me? Why have you done this to me? Do you need to go outside? Give me a second. He has gassed me with his fart. So sorry if you hear the background noises of outside now. That's okay. Okay, it wasn't a mole. I was gonna say I saw a mole, but it's not a mole. Gil said it was a groundhog. But it was a mole to me. It didn't look like a mole, but it didn't look like a bunny either, because there's bunnies in this area. and I couldn't think of the other word, and it's a groundhog, but it's a mole. In my head, it's a mole. What it actually is a groundhog. But for all purposes, all reference and purposes, from now on, the area is full of moles. You were rendered momentarily speechless. All this time, you had no idea. Baxter carried on speaking, not noticing or politely ignoring the implosion your thought process was undergoing. So how the fuck did he get a license to drive? Who did he get this rental car from?
The truth of the matter is that my parents, being uncreative people, had full confidence that I wouldn't be able to rent a car. That's why Sunset Bird was chosen as my destination. But I didn't have the same issue. There are ways around the age limitation, as you might have gathered.
Yeah, isn't it? You can't. I thought that was like all states, where you had to be like 21 to rent a car. Because I remember I couldn't drive, but still I couldn't rent a car when I was growing up. I can rent one now. Will I though? No, that's too much responsibility.
Since I'm over 18 and have control over my own bank accounts, I honestly don't know why they bother trying at this point.
Are you like emancipated in a way? Because I feel like that's the only way you could be able to rent a car is if you're emancipated somehow, Baxter. The whole situation tickled you a little. It had to be extra work to get a hold of the car, and all Baxter did with it was sightseeing. Even with law breaking, there was something so proper about him. So how did you manage it? I want to know.
It wasn't all that difficult, honestly. I didn't have to do anything awful, don't worry. I have a large number of social connections myself. Members of the dance circuit, acquaintances from the country club, fellow students from college, miscellaneous family friends. The list goes on. The point is, I'm fortunate enough to have a connection in the area who had extra car, which was mine to use provided I covered the cost, plus a little extra, of course.
Ah, okay. Who's your connection? I want to know. I want to meet them. The throwaway nature of his last part gave you pause. Baxter's idea of a little would probably put Cliff Holden's $20 to shame. Okay, that's good to know, I guess.
Splendid! Glad that's squared away.
That splendid was too splendid. There wasn't an exclamation point on that splendid. He gave you a saccharine smile, all honey. And that, for now, was that. In what felt like no time at all, you arrived at the final frame of the match. You glanced up at the scoreboard. You were ahead by a wide margin and had been since the game started. Your rounds had pretty much been all strikes and spares. Baxter, meanwhile, contented himself with avoiding the gutter, though he didn't even manage that every turn. Still, the big gap in score didn't dampen his fun. You finished your final frame with 3 consecutive strikes. Baxter whistled through his teeth. Some people in nearby lanes even applauded politely at the spectacle. That's so weird. I've never seen people do that. Baxter took a far different approach to his last chance. He had nothing to lose after all. The game had long been lost already. So he attempted bowling with his back turned. The ball made it onto the lane, rolling straight and true, and right down the drain it went. Baxter merely laughed. He's so precious.
I finished as I began, in the gutter.
Then Baxter came over and offered you his hand to shake, the very model of sporting behavior. You took it, you fought hard till the end, you waved him away, it was all good. Why would I not shake his hand? Why would I be unsportsmanly, not unsportsmanly? Baxter grasped your hand firmly, and the two of you shook. He grinned.
Thank you for the game, Princeton. I had a lot of fun. I tried my best, but you got the better of me in the end. Congratulations.
You did great for your first try. I'm the champion. It's me. No. You did good for your first try.
You're too kind.
It really seemed as though he was happy to have played at all. Never mind that he didn't win. The joy of a new experience was what mattered to Baxter in the end. The game reaching its conclusion, you wandered over to the main counter to return your rental shoes. Your sightseeing bowling adventure was finished. As you left the building, Baxter was quiet. He must have had something on his mind. He lifted his face to the twilight sky, then met your eyes.
Well, we had our fun, and the day is getting short on time. I suppose we could return to the neighborhood now.
That was a question, not a statement. Baxter touched his chin in contemplation. He hadn't struck you as altogether thrilled by the idea, and coincidentally said that exact thing out loud.
To tell the truth, I'd be disappointed to go home. Would it be asking too much for this to last a little while longer? I'm not sure about you, but after the thrill of our bowling match, I've become rather hungry. Can I treat you to dinner, or at least we can attend a meal together?
Now that Baxter had mentioned it, you realized your stomach was totally empty. You've been out and about for hours. Sure, I could eat something. The prospect of having more opportunity to hang out lightened Baxter's already chipper mood.
That's excellent.
He furrowed his brow in thought, tapping a forefinger to his cheek. His attention drifted away from you. Oh, onion rings? I completely forgot about onion rings at the bowling alley. Or hot dog. Chicken tenders. Sometimes they have jalapeno poppers, but I'm not a jalapeno popper type of person. I don't really like jalapenos like that. I used to like jalapenos, but I don't anymore. His attention drifted away from you as he cast his mind around for ideas. Something caught his fancy eventually. His eyes narrowed and the corners of his mouth curled upwards.
That could work. It's ideal, even. Sorry, I'm checking to see if Jax wants to come back in.
What is it? His gaze swept back to you, and he grinned wholeheartedly.
So far today, we focused on locations which were new to one or both of us. That's all been good fun, but it may be nice to end our little outing on a different note. Perhaps you see where I'm going with this?
He tilted his head playfully, giving his smile even more of a bend. Baxter was nudging you in the right direction.
For our meal, we could go somewhere that's familiar. I'm sure you could think of a suitable place.
Somewhere you'd both been before. The country club? Oh, wait, of course. That was a perfect venue for an evening meal, one he and you were both well familiar with. You mean the Cypress?
That's me being shook, not the game.
The country club where you first met all those years ago. It was exactly the kind of place Baxter would prefer. He beamed, relieved that you'd caught on.
Exactly. It's agreeable with you as well. I can take us there right now.
Yeah, I'd like that. I didn't know it was a restaurant. I thought it was just a place to go.
I mean, I've never been to a country club, so I can't say what you can or cannot do at one. But I have seen Modern Family, and there's a country club in that show. And I guess there's a restaurant there. I watch a lot of shows with rich people, so I don't know why I'm pretending I've never seen what a country club is like. They have restaurants at the country club.
Look at me forgetting my roots. My roots of watching shows about rich people. Having settled on a place to eat, Baxter led you to his car with a spring in his step. The prospect of the jaunt to the Cypress obviously delighted him. You sped towards the general direction of Sunset Bird in the midst of its namesake period of the day. The faint wisps of clouds overhead were painted a pale orange. When you pulled up to the country club, the sun was hanging behind the trees which lined the golf courses. You were led out to the recognizable dining area right away by a host where a table or two was nestled in a quiet corner. He passed you menus and excused himself. A woman in a handsome waistcoat and jacket was beginning to light candles for the coming night. Why are words being difficult now? She paused that to attend to new guests. Good evening. I'll get you water immediately. Is there anything else I can bring you?
Good evening to you. One moment. Princeton, I'm familiar with their offerings. Would you like to order now?
Yes, please. You'd mentally gone over what you wanted on the drive. Baxter smiled sweetly at the waitress, who readied a notepad to take your orders. It got sorted shortly, and she took her leave. After that, there was nothing to do but make yourselves comfortable. It felt nice to have some time to relax. You reclined in your chair, stretching out your legs, and idly peered around. You'd come at a good time. It was the middle of the week, and earlier in the evening than many people would go out for dinner. As it was, you had the entire place to yourselves. Baxter shifted into his seat, the wicker creaking quietly. He rested an arm casually over the back of it. The bag with his souvenir was sitting to one side of the table in front of him. He had brought it from the car. You must be intending to open it here. Now, why would you do that? I'm gonna go check on my doggy. ready. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you say something, doggy? Alright, I'm back. It looked like he was a birthday boy preparing to unwrap his present at a celebratory meal. You chuckled imagining that. A soft sigh broke the comfortable silence. This dog and his loudness.
It's a pity it's so quiet. I'd have loved for there to be some music.
He flashed you a lopsided grin.
Or dancing even. That's asking for too much, I know. However, when I visit the Cypress either here or home, it's livelier than this. Such a shame, but I suppose there can't be a soiree every night.
Yeah, Baxter, there can't be a soiree every night. At least we were able to dance together last time, right? I still find it hard to believe that this is where we first met. You smiled sympathetically. It's hard to believe this is where we first met, brother.
I call Gil brother too, like, romantically involved. It's so weird, but like it's not meant that way. Baxter hummed in agreement. Yes, it was quite an extraordinary sequence of events that led us to this moment, isn't it? Almost too good to be true.
He threaded his fingers through his hair and laughed softly, as if struck again by the absurdity of it all.
It's times such as these where it feels as though you're close to something magical, wouldn't you say? Fingers of fate reaching through time to touch the strings of our lives. It could have so easily never happened. That's what I find strange. A few choices made differently, we might have never have even crossed paths at all. He shuddered dramatically, as if the prospect chilled him despite the summer warmth. It doesn't bear thinking about.
The serious note to his words was gone in an instant, replaced once more with his usual playful timbre. He struck a thoughtful profile, resting his chin on his hand, and then peeked at you slyly from the corners of his eyes.
You know, I first saw you standing there on the edge of the dance floor. It was captivating to see someone my age so put together. It can be easy for formal wear to fade into the background at those kinds of events. Everyone looks the same, but you were able to make the style something of your own.
Oh, thank you.
You were easily the best dressed partner going. I was delighted to take your attention as well. It was only for one dance.
You met Baxter's gaze. Despite the flush in your cheeks, as always, Baxter was absolutely direct with his compliments, but it didn't throw you. Thanks. I'm glad you had a fun time. Baxter laughed at that, the sound ringing clear as a bell over the empty patio, the grass and the water as the sun's dying light caught them all. You'd missed this place. It had been too long since your last visit. Excuse me. The train of thought was interrupted by the sound of a waitress arriving with your food. 2 steaming plates were placed in front of you, and then you were alone again. Neither you nor Baxter wasted any time tucking in. The food was as good as you remembered, and by all accounts Baxter was content with his choice too. But you didn't necessarily have to eat in perfect silence. You searched for a topic of conversation. So, what's up with the black and white thing? He looked down at his outfit and shrugged.
I don't think of it as being much of a thing. Black and white happen to be my favorite colors.
It's the only colors you ever wear. You even dyed your hair to match. That's more than a color simply being your favorite. Baxter quietly absorbed your words with a wry smile. Clearly more amused and embarrassed. For all that he'd just downplayed it, he totally owned this strange quirk of his character.
All right, I admit it. One could say I'm rather dedicated to the aesthetic as a whole. I came to it gradually, though I've had some level of affection for black and white ever since I was a small child. Anyone who knew me back then could have told you as such. I was very forthright and outspoken about my preferences, as children can often be. But it wasn't until a few years ago that I made the conscious decision to align my fashion choices with that underlying attachment. It was around then that I came to understand how clothing could be an expression of your personality, a way of showing yourself to the world. I wanted to make a statement, you could say, so I started experimenting with the more grayscale looks and became selectively tailoring my wardrobe around the limited palette. To start with, like most people, I had associated black and white with more formal taste and styles, tuxedos, dinner suits, tailcoats, and the like. But as I looked further beyond my social group, I found a diverse range of alternative subcultures which drew upon the monochrome theme. He sure is doing a lot of talking. Not that that's a bad thing. We love Baxter. This is a Baxter household. Sorry, I couldn't see for a second there. There was a lot of appeal for me there as well. I ended up adopting many of them into my own personal sense of taste. The rest, as they say, is history.
That actually made a lot of sense, now that it was all laid out in front of you. It was like that one small choice early on had snowballed, gathering momentum as time went on, and now it formed a core part of who he was. But if that were the case, then the question remained. So what made you like black and white in the first place? As a kid, I mean.
Oh, that.
He leaned in closer and playfully threaded his fingers under his chin.
Can you guess?
What? It wasn't like him to beat around the bush. The fact that he was choosing to toy with you a little about this was not what you prepared for. Those are the standout formal colors. You must really love zebras. Are you maybe a fan of black and white movies? You're too much of a grown-up for colorful things? No idea, can I have a hint? The standard formal colors?
An admirable attempt. I did include that in my story, but that's not the reason I latched onto them originally. I'll try and make it easier for you. The crux of the matter is, why do I, Baxter Ward, like the colors black and white so much?
Are you a fan of Pokemon, perhaps? His voice took on a strange quality, placing a lot of emphasis on certain words. He was obviously trying to guide your thought process here, but you couldn't quite work it out. Wait a minute. Black and white. Baxter Ward. Black and white. No way. No way. Because of his name? Baxter, you loser. I love you. It's because of your initials? He grinned from ear to ear, the punchline finally revealed, a face of sheer delight. You got it. Brilliant, isn't it? And I have to give you credit. You managed to see the picture without every piece of the puzzle. The truth is, my full name is Baxter Alexander Ward. 3 out of 3. Not Baxter Alexander Ward. Black and white. I cannot with this man. This ridiculous ass man. I'm gonna take a quick ad break. I'll be RB. Jax is so funny. I'm over here. I had the cap to a Sprite bottle, and he was like, "What is that?" So I hold it out to him. He like jumps up and sniffs it, and he's like, "Oh, no thanks." And now he's in my face because I got up. Because I got up during the little break. Because I needed to get up. If I'm not moving, I just have to move. Anyway. Oh, do you hear my like shoulder pop? Look at me. Old. He rested his chin on his hands and beamed at you, the very picture of smugness. You'd hardly seen him this contented in all the time you'd known him. It was such a perfect coincidence. I can't believe that's the reason. I'm gonna say that, but what is this? But why would that cause such a lifelong obsession? That's adorable. I have no words. I can't believe that's the reason. Baxter just giggled boyishly at your response and swept his fingers idly through his bangs. I confess, as a child I came to believe that black and white had to be part of my identity as soon as I realized how well it coincided with my own name. It almost felt like magic in a way. Names carry power and importance. Kids love those kinds of coincidences. It's part of the mystery of youth. Okay, but you're not a child anymore. You can like different colors. You don't have to keep liking black and white. Also, black and white aren't colors. Just saying. Magic, huh? You were reminded of something that happened earlier. Is that why you reacted when I mentioned the amazing Alexander? Because it's your middle name? Ah, well spotted. That's correct again. You could say I wish to be an amazing Alexander in my own right. I've always been fond of my full name. Why? It's a very nice name. I like it too. It suits you to a T. Thanks for sharing it with me. His smell was contagious. At any rate, I'm sure you can understand at last why I'm so attached to it, and to my favorite colors. I mean, I would like to know why you're attached to it, though. You certainly did. Who knew that such a simple question would lead to such a strange and unexpected answer? In the past few minutes, you'd ended up learning much more than you bargained for about the hidden depths of Baxter Alexander Ward. You passed the rest of the meal with idle chatter, exchanging anecdotes and silly stories. Everything was easier with some good food at hand. Eventually, dinner ended, the dishes were cleared, and the bill sent for. One of the things you discussed was who'd pay. You'd pay for yours and he'd pay for his. It was the fairest that way. It would be split right in half, a team effort. You'd pay for his and he'd pay for yours. It was a little more fun that way. That sounds cute. He'd be willing to cover it and you accepted generously. He was being nice. You insisted on paying the whole bill. It was going to be your treat. That one's fun. I like that one. And now? He reached over to place his hand on the wrapped up souvenir. It had sat patiently next to his plate for the whole meal. I've been eagerly awaiting the right opportunity to open this. No time like the present, wouldn't you agree? You could have opened it earlier in the present, but no, okay. Yeah, I want to see what you think. And you will. He pulled the gift squarely in front of him with a great deal of ceremony, as though it were a beautifully wrapped present with an enormous bow on the top. It was generous of him to play pretend that it was certainly nothing fancy but a cheap plastic bag with "thank you for shopping" printed all down the sides. He closed his eyes and with tentative fingers reached inside and pulled out the souvenir you'd bought him. When he looked at his lids and finally saw it for the first time, his brows raised in appreciation. Oh, so he hates it. Okay. Okay. He turned the picture frame over his hand, appraising it from multiple angles as the warm, dusky glow bathed it in gold. He ran his fingers gently over the shells laid in front of the border of the frame and smiled to himself. Any picture would be happy to live in such a pretty home as this. I can put it on my desk in Virginia. It's a wonderful gift. I couldn't have chosen better myself. No, it's okay. You can say you hate it. It's okay. Having a drop of bright California sunshine to brighten up my college dorm is the very thing I needed. That felt so charming in my ears, sir. I'll be reminded of you every time I look at it. Or you could put a picture of us in it, and you could see me. Or just me. You could just have a picture of me in it. Thank you, Princeton. You're welcome. That's all I hope for. He gingerly placed the picture frame back in the bag. For safekeeping, I'd be distraught if anything happened to it. Once the bill came and went, Baxter cleared his throat and made to stand. Shall we? You checked around for your belongings and nodded. Yeah, let's go home. Wonderful. You headed through the club and out into the parking lot. Night was beginning to fall in earnest. As you settled into the car, you found yourself gazing back at the cypress. In your head, you thanked it for so many years of fine food and happy memories. It had been a good day, a lifetime of good days. And because of Baxter had offered you even more to be grateful for. The meeting was a gift to you from your old friend. The last of the daylight was long gone by the time you finally returned to your neighborhood. Baxter had gone more slowly than when you'd left, content to enjoy the drive, almost as if he was trying to delay the end of your sightseeing trip for a whole while longer. You felt the same. It had been a special day. In many ways, you sighed forlorn as the car pulled onto your street at last. Baxter parked and killed the engine. Then he shifted into the driver's seat, his hand still on the wheel, to face you. Aw, I thought I was going to get like a scene. I really appreciated your company today, Princeton. I have to confess, I had an itinerary planned in the event you declined my invitation. Oh, what were you going to do? Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't want you to feel obligated to humor me so I'm not lonely. I managed perfectly well. But in the end, I'm grateful it didn't come to that. It was infinitely preferable having the chance to spend a few hours in your company. I don't know if you feel the same, or if you did indeed tag along as a favor to me. Either way, thank you. Baxter finished his brief speech and released the wheel. He made it as if to get out of the car without waiting for a response. I was happy to do it. I wanted to spend more time with you. I'm glad you invited me. I appreciate the chance to get to know you. Pat his arm reassuringly. I wanted to spend more time with you. He glanced back, eyes bright. Baxter was awfully pleased, making no attempts to hide that fact. He realized that he'd really been asking you a question, in his own roundabout way. He was hoping you'd enjoy his being there too. It was nice that you could make him happy with such a simple thing. Baxter cleared his throat and shifted in place. His pretend escape plan hadn't included taking off the seatbelt. He undid it then. You moved to do the same, and the two of you got out of the car into the warm night air. A goodbye was on the tip of your tongue when Baxter's voice gave you pause. Princeton? You turned to where Baxter stood. Baxter was leaning casually against the hood, one hand in his pants pocket. Forgive me. It's been a long day, and I'm sure you're tired of questions at this point. If you'll indulge me a while longer, I did have something else in mind to ask. That didn't bother you. You smiled to show that. If anything, you'd been the one asking most of the questions. Go ahead. One corner of Baxter's mouth lifted in a crooked half smile. He stood up properly and he continued. Thanks. Well, as I must repeat, today has been particularly lovely, all the lovelier for having spent it with you. And I wonder, would it be too forward of me to consider our time together a date? A beat. You blinked. Wait. A date? Your voice came out a bit squeaky with surprise. Not for the first time today, Baxter had managed to catch you completely off guard. It wasn't lost on him either, but whereas before Baxter might have delighted in getting such a reaction out of you, the expression he gave now was gentle, friendly. Well, don't make it friendly if you're asking me on a date. I don't want it to be platonic. I want it to be romantic, sir. How funny considering the entirely more than friendliness of the subject. Exactly. He ran a hand absentmindedly through his hair, searching for the most delicate way to fit his bluntness. Have I read the signals wrong? It wasn't the underlying intention when I asked you, I assure you. I got the impression of what this may be or could be partway through. And if I'm not entirely off, I'd be far more curious to inquire on whether I might consider any future outings together as dates as well. You can consider everything we do as a date if you want. He edged in closer. I don't know if you heard that, but I heard it, and I'm not going to read it because it felt special. That is, if you'd like to spend more time with me. And I'm assuming you'd even want to date a man. Date a man? Don't say it like that. Honestly, I'd be open to dating you. I don't treat things that lightly. Why would you want to date me? I don't understand. We barely know each other. I could date a guy. I guess you're comfortable with me? Honestly, I'd be open to dating you. Then I almost pressed quit by accident. Oh my god, how upset I would be. Well, before I get you carried away in excitement, I must own the fact that this is not a grand romantic overture. I doubt you would believe me if I was claiming to be your one and only for all time. Well, you're not, unfortunately, Baxter, but for the sake of this, I'll allow it. He placed a palm to his chest and met your gaze with a crooked smile. I am nominating myself as a suitor for the season. A charming summer adventure, no more, no less. Okay, and this is why we have issues in Too Hot to Handle too. It's Baxter's fault. So a fling, basically. Only you would describe it like that. You pondered the strange situation. You could only stare with your mouth hanging open. So a fling, basically? Baxter laughed, self-efficating. Efficating? Effacing? You could certainly put it that way. In the end, the point I'm trying to get across is that there are no high stakes here. I don't care about what label you choose to put on this arrangement. I could be your boyfriend, or nothing at all. And you could also change your mind without consequence. If you find out it's not what you imagined further down the line. If that's how you feel, I can live with it. That makes sense. Yeah, I get it already. Consider yourself suited. I'm sorry, I can't do that after all. If that's how you feel, I can live with it. At your words, he beamed at you, his face bright in the darkness. Thank you. You've already given me so much in my time here. I've been very fortunate to have you as my neighbor, and for now, as something else. His tone was measured and polite as ever, but you couldn't help. I'm like, sorry, I keep getting distracted. The light from the kitchen is shining brightly on my stickers that are like gold tinted, and it's like distracting. I should probably turn the kitchen light off. I will after this. His tone was measured and polite as ever, but you couldn't help but hear an excited edge to the words. As if he were internally bouncing on the balls of his feet with anticipation because he wouldn't do it on the outside. The smile of Baxter's was your favorite. Seeing it, you were already glad to have accepted his offer. On top of your own personal feelings, it was cute to have such an impact on him. Underneath his peculiarities, Baxter was a sweetheart. But once the initial rush had died down, your thoughts drifted to more practical matters. What would you say to people? What would you call this thing between you? You put the question to Baxter, whose eyes lifted up along the edges. Would you care if I told my family or not? My friends are going to find out for sure, though. What a delightful first concern. It's up to you how we go about it. If it's not something you feel comfortable talking about, then I wouldn't insist. My preference would be not to treat it as a secret, however. I'm proud to be doing this, but again, I'm a visitor and this is your home. The choice is ultimately yours. I'm telling everybody that I have a boyfriend, so chill out. If you're okay with that, I don't mind telling people. I don't mind if you're honest about it. You can tell people, it's cool. I'd rather not tell my mom and sister. I'll be teased. You shrugged. If they knew, they knew. I don't know. I'm between this one and we can tell people it's cool. Should I be, I'm gonna be chill. Excellent. I'll speak casually about it then. Parents are likely to hear the news eventually, though I don't expect you to speak to them. Now, how would they hear the news? Why would they hear the news? You're just gonna be like, my boyfriend? That's crazy, Baxter. I love that for me. Oh, alright.
Now, as much as it pains me to say, I shouldn't keep you any longer.
Okay.
Thank you again for a wonderful day, Princeton. If you ever want another, you can call or text me. I'm very able to drop what I'm doing and come see you.
That's so sweet. If only my boyfriend did that. He used to. He used to drop everything to come see me. But now I'm over his house all the time. So what's he gonna do? Maybe I should make him go to his car and then come back out of his car just to say that he dropped everything to come see me. Just to be dramatic.
I'm gonna text him that too. Or alternatively, you're welcome to come by my place whenever it strikes you. I'll be in touch though too, so don't feel pressure to initiate.
He lifted his hand in a cheery wave, staying put in order to see you head home.
Have a good night.
At this, the closing moment of your day together, it struck you how much of an impact he had on you in such a short time. You cast your mind back further to 5 years ago. It was so surreal to think about, the mysterious boy who had stolen a piece of your heart and vanished without a trace. Not only had he shown up after all this time, but he'd moved into the neighborhood and now you were dating? The absurdity made your head spin. Your chest ached with a profound emotion that you didn't have a name for. Like you were seeing the beauty and complexity of the universe laid bare. But you could mull over those thoughts another time. It was getting late, and he was waiting for you.
I'm gonna need you to stop this behavior, Jax. I'm gonna need you to stop this behavior. He keeps farting. And the smell is not pleasant. It's not like farts aren't pleasant anyway, but like this is not it's not good. In your parting moment with Baxter, can I kiss him?
Left him with a parting kiss.
Oh, he didn't like that. He didn't like that. I'm sorry. I take it back. Can I load? No. Baxter was initially frozen by your initiative. You outpaced even him, but not for long. He quickly leaned in to return the kiss. He looked so like, how fucking dare you touch me? Honestly, same.
Me and Baxter are the same. He rested his hand on your shoulders as he tilted his face and stretched up to meet you.
Stretched up to meet me? How much taller am I than him? I thought we were like the same height.
It was kind of adorable. His lips were soft against yours. The kiss was chaste, tender. Your eyes were shut, but you could feel his mouth curl upwards with the contentment. You opened them again, and there was his face, as dazzling as the stars. Being with him that way was warm and comforting, despite the fact that his shirt felt really stiff. Why is his shirt stiff? Does he use, like, starch? Fashion over comfort with Baxter Ward.
I must say, I didn't anticipate you to be the one to pull a move on me so soon, and a daring move at that. But it is far from unwelcome.
You say that, and yet the face you made when I kissed you was not very welcoming, Baxter. He laughed quietly behind his hand. There was no chance of you making Baxter shy, but there was definite coyness to his temperament and a faint flush to his cheeks.
Well then, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, have a good night, Princeton.
Good night, Baxter. You let each other go, at least for the moment. Baxter had begun the farewell, yet made no move to leave. He watched you cross the road to your house. You turned on the threshold and waved one last time. Now, I'm confused because I thought we were next door to each other. This is just like with Cove. Do we live next door to each other or not? What is the truth? What is the truth? A familiar grin was the last thing you saw before the door closed behind you. You'd see it again soon enough.
This is going on forever. This is only half of
this is only half of this little part, and we're already an hour in. It was a strange feeling to be back home after such an eventful afternoon. So much happened in the space of a few short hours, and so much had changed. Of course, you were right. Then couldn't be described as without excitement. Of course, where you were right then couldn't be described as without excitement. There we go. You were greeted almost immediately by footsteps approaching from the hallway. Sweetie, you're back. I heard the door open. Yeah, Baxter's moments are long. Also, hello again. Hi, Callie. Welcome back. How are you doing? Mom's laugh rang out from behind her, out of the pan and into the fire. You're doing good. I'm glad you're doing good. How long are his moments? Are they like 39 hours each? Because that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm here for several hours. I'm not even done with the first moment. Whoa there. No need to jump on Princeton without giving him the chance to take his shoes off. For all we know, it's been a very informative and tiring day. Ma came up in front of you and Mom appeared over her shoulder. You could see the smirk on Mom's face to go along with the pointed implications in her choice of words. For all that Mom appeared to be tempering Ma's enthusiasm, they were both guilty of speculating what you were up to all day, and now was their chance to finally find out. While her wife rested a hand onto her shoulder, Ma beamed angelically, a picture of innocence. She was the last person to bowl someone over the minute they got home. Honest. What's going on exactly? Your sister's voice drifted over from the couch. Oh, she's here too? Liz had been sitting watching TV, but spun around to see what the commotion was about. Her show forgotten. The gang was all there, and only in a matter of seconds. So, how did it go? Did you have a nice time with your new neighbor? Oh, so that's where you've been all afternoon? Out with a gentleman caller? How charming. Your sister leaned over the back of the couch with a biting grin on her face. She could have given Baxter a run for his money. Yes, Princeton was getting to know Mr. Ward. The rest of us like to know him as well. Ma, you should just snoop, you laugh. Calm down, Ma, I'll get it. Baxter asked me out on a date. I had a lot of fun. You want the scoop of Baxter? I got the deets. This is me. This is a me answer, honestly. Depends on the moment. There's definitely 3 long ones that are over 2 hours. Oh, Lord. I'm not going to be here for like 3 hours. I'm going to do one more moment after this. And then that's going to be it, hopefully. No more than 3 hours. You simply sighed and shook your head. I got the scoop, Mom. Ma clapped her hands together, delighted. That's my boy. I've been dying to know more about him ever since he got here. What did you find out? Ma patted her shoulder. Lonnie, you sure can stave off death long enough to give Princeton some space. I'm sorry, it's exciting, but I can wait. With that, the immediate tension around you dispersed, and you were free to collect your thoughts. Oh, here comes Liz. Slowly, everyone drifted towards the kitchen counter where they sat ready and waiting to hear the whole story. You kicked off your shoes. Ma wouldn't allow you to drag dirt in the house even when she was trying to curry favor. And then you went over and pulled up a stool. There was one major event of the outing. You and Baxter were dating. It would be the last bit of personal info they ever would have expected about the new neighbor. It turns out Baxter went to date me, and well, I want that too. Here's a factoid about Baxter Ward. He's dating someone named Princeton Rigel, not him. Princeton is so full of that. I might pick that one. So the main thing is that Baxter and I are dating now. To cut a long story short, Baxter's my boyfriend now. I don't know. I'm between this one and this one. I would pick that one. Now their eyes getting big. There was dead silence. For a moment, your family merely stared at you. Then they opened their mouths in unison. What? Everyone started talking at once and rang to know the specifics. You did your best to elaborate in spite of their unintended interruptions. Basically, he asked me at the end of the day if it was considered a date, and if so, whether or not I want to have more dates with him. I said yes to both of those, so yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Liz was still entirely taken aback in spite of your reasoning. He asked you out already? Or retroactively sideways asked you out? It doesn't matter. He's been here about 1 day. That's not true. It's been multiple days. And then you've cumulatively spent 1 day worth of hours with him over multiple days. Across from you, Mom snorted with sudden laughter. Well, at least we know one thing for sure about our new neighbor. He doesn't waste any time. She judged him accurately. That's exactly how you describe Baxter. A hurricane could have swept you off your feet half so fast as that. Next to her, Ma continued to blink in stunned silence. Why does she look so displeased? Of your parents, Ma was usually the one to encourage you to be social and make new connections with people. She basically shoved you out of the door to go find out more about the new guy. The idea that you might get this involved with Baxter hadn't even crossed her mind. Perhaps sensing Mama's hesitance, Liz chimed back up. Teasing aside, congrats, little brother. It's not all on him. You know how to charm a guy, and he's lucky to have you. Well said, Liz. Baxter knows quality when he sees it. Now, hopefully his properness isn't actually just an act. You take care and be safe, kiddo. I hope you have a fun summer. And if not, we can always make sure he never sets foot in the state ever again. Mom is crazy. This finally was what jolted your ma, out of her state of shock. She bapped her wife playfully on the arm in rebuke. Pam, what did we agree about that kind of shovel talk? We shouldn't resort to threats, especially not about someone Princeton cares for. She smiled sweetly, recovering her buoyant energy somewhat. And don't have to, regardless. If Baxter did anything wrong to his new relationship you have together, Miguel would eat him alive, I'm sure. Mom gave another hearty laugh and put an arm around Ma. They were two peas in a pod, the pair of them. Ma faced you fully, apparently more at ease now that the ice had been broken. I agree, sweetheart. Baxter is very fortunate to have the chance to get to know you. Make the most of it, all right. Being able to see you happy is good enough for us. Thanks, everyone. I'm already happy. At least now you guys know. You smiled appreciatively. You shrugged nonchalantly. You covered your face with embarrassment so mushy. I'm already happy. Mom raised her hands defensively, her tone light but playful. All right, we believe you. In spite of the inevitable ribbing, it felt good to have opened up about that. In their own ways, they all wanted you to know they were on your side no matter what choice you made. As the night wore on, your moms and Liz ended up chatting amongst themselves, engrossed in the conversation to the point where you were able to slip away unnoticed. On the way upstairs to your room, you found yourself glancing back at the front door as if to catch another glimpse of Baxter over the street. You really hoped he got what he wanted out of the sights he saw. Sunset Barrett was a special place to you. If you were lucky, then maybe Baxter had come to realize that as well. You'd certainly reached more of an understanding of him, one way or another. Yet you were positive there was much still buried underneath the surface, so much more of his character than there had appeared to be at first glance. But you didn't mind. You'd known each other for such a small part of your lives. Of course, a single outing wouldn't be enough to quantify an entire person. What was special was that it might not always be that way. Currently, he was the bowling alley, shiny and new, but someday you might be as familiar with Baxter as you were with the shopping street and the cypress. This day was only a wonderful start. That was long. Okay, so which ones did you say were like the longer ones? Because you said 3 of them were the long ones, and over 2 hours. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some water. It shouldn't be a long thing. Okay. Back with the water. Also, I mentioned this earlier, but like I adjusted the mic, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear like everything now. But that's okay. I think we'll pick Hang next. Hopefully it's good. It's good and even, maybe like an hour long at most. The stars had magically aligned, and somehow everyone was free today. But it was more than just luck. You owed it all to Miranda's determination. She set things up over several phone calls to find the perfect window to hit the beach. You couldn't wait to meet up with Terry, Miranda, Cove, and Baxter too, because that's our boo. Coordinating schedules had been especially rough lately, but you didn't let that stop you from organizing your grand plan. You wanted your new friend to be included in all the fun. That's what we're calling him, our new friend? Okay. After a bit of messaging with the others, you had brought up the possibility of adding Baxter to the mix. No one objected to your request, so you and Terry swiftly put his phone number to good use. Baxter had been flattered to be thought of that early in the planning stage. Funnily enough, he'd been the easiest one to account for, despite being far and away the newest guy on the block. That's because he has nothing better to do. He's here in California, knows basically no one. Of course, what else is he gonna do? Go to the bowling alley and practice? Baxter was able to rearrange his schedule to whatever everyone else needed, and you and Terry relayed the remaining details to Cove and Miranda later. Your hopes were high. Almost everyone knew each other to varying degrees, but this would be Miranda and Baxter's first time meeting. True. And yet, you weren't that worried. Deep down, you had a pretty good feeling that they'd get along once they got a little time together. That's where things stood. Baxter would be coming by your room any minute now to meet up ahead of time. You'd see them all soon, but Cove was there with you already. I don't want Cove with me. I want Baxter coming up here, thank you. The prior evening, Baxter texted you for advice. He'd been caught between his options. Should he come to you, or should he hang back and you'd come get him with your friends and you'd come get him when your friends were ready. You eased his troubles by simply inviting him to your house. You thought it'd be nice to hang out with him before the official hangout. Checking the clock, there was a small window to get ready before Baxter arrived. Despite it being well past morning, you were wearing your pajamas. You had known you didn't have anywhere to be until the beach trip and had a lazy start to the day, but still. You need to get dressed in actual clothing, you need to put a swimsuit on. Put that swimsuit on! Bikini! What if? What if? You knew it was clean and folded in one of your drawers. It was more of a question of which one. As you searched, you couldn't help your mind wandering. Are there such things as male bikinis that have the tops too? Are those called mankinis? Or are those what Speedos are called? Your height had complicated shopping a little. Not all your suits were made to properly fit people like you. And then for the shape of your body. You were heavy set, you were chubby, you were generally medium, you were slender, you were scrawny, you were slender. And you had noticeable muscles, you had a little muscle definition. Your body was soft, your body was delicate. If only. We had noticeable muscles. We're buff. Oop. No, Bartholomew. I hit Bartholomew B. Bartholomew's attached to my mic. It was clear how solidly you were built, and the dense muscles were visible without having to flex them. We hit the gym often. You had gained more muscle in recent years. It was clear when compared to how you were when you were younger. Staring down at yourself, your train of thought drifted until you were lost. You always felt sure about your gender. You wondered if your gender was really something you felt right about. We were always sure about our gender. Being called him was right for you. And you had a naturally flat chest. That's the way you wanted it. You generally wore a padded bra over your chest. You had breast augmentation surgery. You felt... What? You left it like that, but were considering options for it? You used the padded bra for now, but intended to get surgery later. That's the way we wanted it to be. People had a lot of their identity wrapped up in their physical form. It shaped their self-image. You were confident in yours. You were comfortable in yours. I feel like Princeton's a very confident man. He's a very confident man. He knows what he's about. Your body was awesome. Your body was awesome. Hearing that. It made you feel capable and assured. That was wonderful to you. You had pretty much always felt good in your body. It was that way through your main growing years, and now that you were an adult, you didn't see that changing anytime soon. It wasn't until a steady knock fell against the door that you snapped back into the present reality. Baxter was already here, and you hadn't even changed yet. Breathing deeply, you knew that you couldn't just ignore him. You pivoted toward the door and pulled yourself together. Come in! The knob wiggled and the door glided open. Baxter cordially stepped in, catching your eye with an already developed grin.
Good afternoon, Princeton. I must tell you again how touched I am by your thoughtfulness. You didn't have to open your door to me and play a host even before our scheduled plans. And truthfully, I am taking the fact that I'm allowed to be standing here as a fortunate sign. A neighbor at most would have been set aside in the living room if they were welcome into the home in the first place.
Yes, well, what a greeting. A hi to you, too. Baxter nodded graciously and inched forward, letting his gaze curiously examine this new space. You noticed his posture relaxing the longer he was there.
I think you have a very charming room. The shade of yellow is nice.
Thanks, I like it a lot too. Baxter shifted his attention back to you directly. For a split second, his gaze flickered down to your outfit and his polite exterior faltered.
I have to wonder, did I perhaps arrive early? My mistake, truly.
Your knee-jerk confusion at the comment quickly melted away. His discretion of your pajamas was appreciated. You squinted, scrutinizing his fully dressed ensemble. Have I noticed these ripped jeans before? Why are they ripped in such a way? What a hussy. Got his legs all out? Okay. I'm joking, he's not a hussy, but it's just funny. It's funny calling men hussies because it's just so unserious. But wait, you aren't dressed either. Are you planning on changing into a swimsuit or are you going like that? Why'd you come here before getting dressed? He glanced down at himself and laughed.
I know precisely what you're getting at, but it's more interesting to wonder how you're seeing me right now, since apparently I didn't get dressed today.
Very funny, you got dressed, but not for swimming or even getting damp.
I know. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to spending an afternoon on the beach with all of you. I will not be getting into the ocean.
Boo! Boo! Just get your toesies wet. There was more of a hint of insistence in his tone, and it was completely unexpected from the up-for-anything mouth of Baxter Ward. He carelessly ran his fingers through his hair and left it messier than usual. A note of worry rose in his tone. Do you not have a swimsuit? Is that what it is?
And what if I get a sunburn?
Then use sunscreen. You silly?
Oh, not him scowling. We're likely to spend multiple hours there. I'm not risking making this situation even worse by exposing my entire chest and legs to the summer sun.
Wear sunscreen. And then reapply. What is your issue? By this, Baxter meant his delicate, pinky skin. Ugh, this man. He expressed that by holding his bare arms out towards you. Have you ever been in the ocean yet you laughed? You're such a tourist. I had no idea you were sensitive about that. It's good to know. Don't worry, I understand why you'd be uncomfortable with that. I'll pick this one. I'm not used to people being bothered that much about the beach, but it's nothing to get pushy about. Definitely not a friendship deal breaker if that's what you were worried about. The seriousness in your tone cracked Baxter's guard. His eyebrows bent up.
Oh? Thank you, Princeton. Your kindness is extremely welcome.
Why are we still saying we're friends when we're definitely dating now? I don't like this one bit. I would like to be boyfriend and boyfriend, please. Stop this. Stop treating me like we're friends.
I confess, I haven't actually swum in the ocean.
Swum? You mean swam? How do you swum?
I'm about to look this word up. I don't believe swum is a word. At any point, or to any degree.
Oh, hold on. No, because I'm interested in this game, actually. Why? I'm going to scream. Why is Amazon open to barbecue ribs? I'm screaming. I did not search barbecue ribs on Amazon. How did that even appear? Is swum a word? Apparently swum is a word. What are the three chances of swim? I'm so confused. What is the difference between swam and swum? Swim is a regular past particle of swim, while swum should only be used after a helping verb. I don't like this. I don't like that swum is a word. Really? Never? He said it. The detail was hard to wrap your brain around. Your moms had been taking you to the beach since you were a toddler. I don't mind if we stay on land. I think you ought to give it a try while you can. It'll be okay. Yeah, try it. You wanted new experiences, buddy. Are you sure? I'd love to show you what the beach and sea are really like. That was it. He really wasn't going to do it. You pouted over the loss. Are you certain you won't wear one? I'd really appreciate if you reconsidered. I like that one. Not him blushing. Baxter laid a hand across his heart and his lips curled into a smirk.
I apologize for misunderstanding you so completely. Ignore what I said previously. I'll certainly wear a swimsuit. Ayy, we won! The shine in his eyes matched the gleam in yours, and yet you remained firmly rooted in place. Baxter was clearly in no rush to leave. Chuckling, you were delighted that Baxter wanted to hang out with you just as much as you wanted with him. Unfortunately, neither of you could afford to dawdle much longer. It was time to get ready already. Sorry, we should both change. Meeting his eye, you shoot him out. We should both change. Shoot him out? What do you mean? What do you mean shoot him out? We're kind of cutting things close. No need to apologize. I should have kept a better eye on the clock. I'll see you soon. I'll gladly go dress myself properly for the occasion. I'll meet you outside in front of the house. Please, excuse me. And on that note, Baxter sauntered out. Once the door was firmly shut, you raced around the room to get ready. We won. I can wear a tankini. No, we're gonna have the titties out. You picked a one-piece swimsuit, two-piece bikini, wetsuit, swim trunks. Decided to wear a Speedo without a top. Not me stuttering. Not me stuttering because I read the word Speedo. Let's do swim trunks. We're not the Speedo kind of people. Hesitating by the door, you scanned the room one last time. You mentally ran through the list of things you might need later. Took sunglasses. I didn't know that I couldn't take more than one thing. Usually I can take more than one thing. With that settled, you were officially ready to leave and meet back up with Baxter. I didn't even read the whole stuff, because I thought I could take more than one thing. Stepping into the street, you surmised that Baxter wasn't finished as fast as you. He wasn't there, but the absence didn't mean you were alone. Oh, look who it is. Cove. We haven't seen him in 12 years. Cove sat outside his house with his eyes glued to his phone. He tapped out a message just before spotting you. Hey. Hey yourself. You crossed the street, returning his greeting with a cheerful wave. Have you seen Baxter? Not the no. That no felt so harsh. Not yet. The two of you peered at Baxter's condo, but there was no sign of him. Cove rubbed the back of his neck. I just walked out and then Terry texted me. Her and Miranda should be here pretty soon. They're mostly on schedule, I hope. Cove's smile bent amusedly. He shrugged. I believe in them. Want to check on Baxter? Nodding, Cove double-checked his phone. Satisfied with what he saw, he slid it back into his pocket of his swim trunks. Cove's fairly neutral attitude on the topic of Baxter didn't escape your notice. He tended to get uncomfortable whenever Baxter surprised or flustered him, but since things were pre-planned and an event favorable to Cove, he didn't seem bothered. Cool, let's go. Okay. The two of you walked hurriedly up the street. You hopped up onto the doorstep and rang the bell. The two of you walked unhurried up the street. Okay, so are we next door neighbors or does this man live across the street? Which is it? A few seconds passed and you shifted your weight on your feet while you waited. But Baxter didn't answer. The pause extended until things reached the point where you felt awkward hovering in front of his shut home. Do I not have the key to his house? We're dating, aren't we? You spun towards Cove, and he returned your nervous stare with a tight-lipped smile. At least you could take solace in the fact that the mild misery had company. There were only a couple of options to pick from. You could either ring the doorbell again, or you could send him a text. You reached for your phone, but a sudden noise through the wood made you stop. Not him having a shirt. Who does he think he is, Mr. Universe? Does he think he's Fabio? Finally, the door cracked open and Baxter peeked through. He then swung the door the rest of the way out to reveal another entry of his signature grayscale style. I can't with this man. I am a fan. I'm a fan. Baxter had surprisingly changed into a black and gray swimsuit. He paired the trunks with an unbuttoned white shirt, and the corners of your mouth curved in amusement to his dedication. Oh, they're kind of short a little bit. They could be shorter. It could be shorter, I'm just saying. Good afternoon. I can't thank you both enough for waiting. Not his hey. Hello again. So worried about getting sunburned, huh? Wow, what took you so long? We were waiting forever. Looking good.
Shyly looked down, you waved. Looking good, babe! With a flick of your wrist, you added a finger gun to your compliment. Baxter grinned delightfully and gestured to his ensemble.
Is this thrown together look? In this thrown together look? Thank you.
Thrown together? What do you mean thrown together? Sir, you're wearing a long sleeve shirt. Shut up. Shut up. The atmosphere had... Jax, stop poisoning me. Every time I smell his smells, I take psychic damage. I take physical damage too, but I also take psychic damage. And I'm congested on top of that, so, like, the fact that it's penetrating my congestion is not helpful. The atmosphere had become far more laid back. Cove was the one to move things forward. So I was thinking, we could get settled on the beach now, and Terry and Miranda can catch up with us there.
I second that idea. This neighborhood is charming, I think a change in scenery would be preferable.
You moved in the direction of the beach while Cove paused to shoot off a quick update. He made sure to let the others know exactly where to find you. I don't mind. He flashed a thumbs up as soon as the message was sent, and with that, 3 of you strolled down the street. Is he blushing again? Or is that just his natural pink? The path he walked was as natural as breathing for you and Cove. For Baxter, it was a brand new experience. Though you might not have been able to tell, he walked straight on, with a certainty in his steps that was on par with the locals. The ocean stretched as far as the eye could see. It was a perfect day. Clear sky, rolling waves, and an inviting breeze coming across the water to combat the balmy heat. Cove threw his towel down and smoothed out the corners while you settled on a spot for your own things nearby. Baxter meanwhile hesitated, merely watching what you two had done. Before you could say anything, Baxter moved forward and picked a small stretch of beach close to yours for his own things. He meticulously laid his pure black towel out over the warm white sand. Oh, look, the sand's white, just for you, Baxter. Turning away, you tried to hold back and hide your laughter. It was just so convenient that even here his black and white color scheme was inescapable. See, look at me. I see it. Baxter stared right ahead, hypnotized by the moving water, and carefully lowered himself into the towel. For you, your family, and your neighbors, the ocean was an old and well-loved friend. But witnessing the wonder dancing through Baxter's eyes reminded you just how vast and awe-inspiring the sight truly was when it was right in front of you. And on the other side of the ocean, Japan. How does that feel? How does it feel to be so close to Japan, Baxter? You glanced at Cove and realized that he was taken in by that side of Baxter as well. This beach was a special place for the people of Sunset Bird, and now was working its magic on Baxter. Cove seemed flattered by the awe and unspoken approval written all over Baxter's face. The sea meant more to him than even the others living there. To appreciate it was to accept him. He hugged his knees to his chest. So, what did you want to do? When you didn't answer, Baxter tore his focus away from the water. He was pleasantly surprised to find out that Cove had directed that question to him instead.
Oh? I've been running on the assumption that you all had something in mind. Whatever it is works for me.
We don't. Nope, no ideas.
Then truthfully, I'd prefer to stay as dry as possible. Taking a stroll or simply remaining here where we are enjoying the scenic view would make a perfect afternoon in my book.
Did you bring a book? Did you want to read something? What are you reading? I'm reading a book right now, actually. It's called The Second Wife's Shadow, or The First Wife's Shadow, or whatever. I'm on chapter 20, and the next chapter is 10 pages long, and I don't feel like reading all that. So I'm still stuck in chapter 20.
But my wants shouldn't interfere with yours. I won't stop anyone from having fun in the water. We're at the shore, and I'm not heartless.
Cove messily brushed his hair back and thought about Baxter's idea of a beach trip. His snicker rolled into a rumbling laugh. I guess you're not going to make much use of that swimsuit.
It's already served me rather well, I think.
Between the playful way Baxter's brow arched and his mouth crooked, Cove stopped laughing. He stared back stunned. Personally, I want to go swimming. I think I'll just get my feet wet. My plan was to get some sun anyway. A stroll sounds nice. You shrugged. I want to get my feet wet. That's nice, especially with how hot it can get out here.
Yes, sounds like a pleasant idea.
Oh, so you're gonna get your feet wet, sir? I thought you wanted to stay cool and dry. Well, I guess hot and dry. You hummed in response and wiggled your feet into the soft sand until they were buried. The layer your toes reached was much cooler than the top layer and sent a small shiver up your spine. Cove kicked his heels, sending some grains of sand that had gotten on his towel sailing. He had done well starting the conversation, but now he was unsure of how to keep it going. Luckily, it didn't take long until you heard shouts. You turned your head to see both Miranda and Terry running straight toward you. Miranda was faster. I cannot believe Miranda's faster than Terry, because Terry is tall. I feel like Terry's got those long legs. But you know what? Miranda could be faster. She could. Was faster, making leaps and bounds across the sand. Terry followed in her wake, laughing with her towel clutched around her shoulders and flowing like a cape. Miranda started making her jumps more theatric and more precarious as she got closer. Cove waved them on with a bright grin. You shouted a greeting, you cheered their antics, you waved too, you laughed. You shook your head. You hoped they wouldn't fall. I hope they don't fall. Be careful! Don't worry, I'm fine! With that, she made a particularly far leap and landed on one foot. She turned into a clumsy pirouette and spun around. Okay, I see you, wetsuit. Wow, Miranda's swimsuit is loud. It's cute, like, I like the frills, but, like, oh my gosh. Why is it like that? The two officially arrived at your little group setup, looking completely ready for the ocean adventure. They were already in their swimwear and were raring to go. Awkwardly, Cove pointed in Baxter's direction. He remembered that Miranda hadn't actually seen him before. That's Baxter. The strange young man's presence nearby suddenly made a lot more sense to her. Miranda shyly waved with a cheerful smile. Hi, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Baxter offered a handshake, and Miranda grew confused at his formal gesture, checking the reaction of her friends on if she was the weird one for thinking this was weird. How was that weird? How was a handshake weird? That only made his smile widen. I can assure you that I'm harmless. You knew Miranda well enough to recognize the worry she was trying to hide behind a more collected front. It was easy to imagine that she might have felt somewhat intimidated. Baxter had an air of maturity about him, while Miranda was a little bit childish and shy in comparison. Hesitantly, she clasped his hand and gave him a proper shake. Thanks for meeting us here today.
It's my pleasure.
Baxter placed his other hand gently on the back of hers while he spoke. They both let go and Terry sprung forward. Hello, hello! She teasingly punched Baxter's upper arm. Hey now.
Nice to see you two.
Terry had already made her dramatic introduction to him at the start of the summer, so she was excited to skip right to the good part, hanging out. The B-Man is actually here. I can't believe how long it took for everyone to get together. Hi, Cove and Princeton, too. Hey. Catch us up. Did we miss anything important? No, I don't think so. It had come up that Baxter was basically your boyfriend already, so that wasn't anything you needed to announce again, even though it was the biggest event of the summer so far. Finally, this is mentioned. I need to make sure. Other than Baxter appearing in the neighborhood, it's been totally normal. You shrugged like Cove, you gave a vague answer, gave her a recap of how your family was doing.
What have you been up to? That's the real question.
The usual.
Girl, what's the usual?
Terry laughed and mentioned a few things from her own parents. Miranda brought up her family and shared some of the wild things her older brother had done.
Now, what has he been up to? What's his name again? Clayton?
Terry then started talking about her morning and how she'd almost overslept since she stayed up too late last night. She bounced on her feet as she spoke. But don't worry about me being tired today. You know I ran on less back during school. Yeah, but we're older now, and our bodies are gonna get tired. Because you remember, if you guys were, like, in high school, if you remember being in high school and, like, doing extracurriculars in high school, and you were able to run on, like, less sleep, I remember being able to do that. I would play Sims to so late in the morning, and I'd still get my homework done and all that. But then, like, when I'm in college, it's like, oh, I can't do that anymore. There's only so much time in the day. Miranda filled in the group about her morning. Apparently everything had gone smoothly. Miranda's brother's name is Jude. Where did they get Clayton from? What's her brother's boyfriend's name? Apparently everything had gone smoothly. She met with Terry on the way here and knew the rest. Cove offered a suggestion to the gang. Scott? Where did I get Clayton from? That's crazy. Maybe because she looks like her name would be Clayton. Like, if she was a guy, she looks like her name would be Clayton. Hey, let's walk while we catch up. Oh, yeah, definitely. You felt pleased that Clover remembered that what you wanted to do. Sometimes he could be thoughtful like that. Once everyone's stuff was settled on the beach, the group strolled over to the shoreline. The wet sand was cool to your feet. A wave rushed up and covered your ankles in water. You flinched from the suddenness of it, but by the next wave, you were acclimated. You took another step forward and sank a little into the ground. Behind you, your footsteps were soon smoothed by the waves. Your friends chatted as you walked together, though Baxter remained at a distance to stay dry. You took turns pointing out cool shells or pieces of sea glass. It was a relaxing jaunt. Hours passed and the group had moved between different activities, some low-key and some more exhaustive. For you, it was break time. Baxter agreed. He sat on your towel, sipping at some water, and he rested on his... On his what? Oh, on his towel. I was like, on his water? Your friends were hard at work burying Terry's full body under a pile. Miranda used her arms to force up sand around Terry's sides. Cove worked on covering Terry's feet. He took another drink and glanced over at Baxter. He looked so sad. He was staring at the water, but that was an entirely different feeling radiating from him. Rather than pure awe, there was a level of discomfort marrying Baxter's expression. You wondered what was bothering him. Yeah, babes, what's wrong? Suddenly he turned towards you as if he could feel your curiosity prodding at him. He surprised you with a kind smile. There's a reason why I'd never gone in the ocean before. Oh, and why is that? Baxter let that hang there and absentmindedly brushed some sand off his thigh. He hadn't elaborated earlier, and you weren't quite sure if he was going to now. Quickly, it became clear that he was carefully choosing his words. The last thing you wanted was to push him. The idea of being fully immersed in the ocean is a bit frightening. It seems endlessly deep and unpredictable, with powerful waves and rapid currents. And there are creatures lurking in there. Some of them are larger than me. It's unfathomable. You don't play with something like that. You know what? Very fair. I also have something to confess. I have never been in the ocean. Like, I've been on a cruise ship, but I've never been in the ocean, so I cannot... I'm also terrified of the ocean, but I would love to be in the ocean at the same time because the sharks. I want to swim with the sharks. Octopi, though? Octopus? No, thank you. They freak me out. I don't like octopuses. I don't like octopi. I don't like squids. I don't like cuttlefish. Anything that looks like that, no, thank you. Except for Squidward, but Squidward's fake, so he's okay. He's okay. If I enter the water, I'll never return from it. The ocean will swallow me whole. That's what I think. His smile strained under the weight of his growing nervousness. Baxter had always carried himself so calmly. This genuine vulnerability left you speechless. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break for the ad, okay? See ya. we're back from the ad. Actually, there we go. His smile strained under the weight of his growing nervousness. Baxter had already carried himself so calmly. The genuine vulnerability left you speechless. And then you heard Miranda screech. Your attention immediately switched over to your friends. You registered that Terry had gotten impatient and shifted her legs. The walls Miranda had been meticulously building collapsed into a wet heap of sand. She surveyed the damage critically. We're gonna have to start over on that part. Do you want to give up on this now? No way! The burial must continue. I'll try not to move anymore. Okay, if you're sure, I'll try to fix this. Miranda started to rebury her, and Terry shot up a thumbs up. She realized too late that moving her arm was a bad idea. More of the sand on her crumbled, and Miranda put her head in her hands. Don't worry, I've got that part. Miranda nodded at him with appreciation. They got back to work, redoubling their efforts to pile sand over the limbs of their friend. Baxter caught her eye, and you both snickered at the interruption. As it grew quiet again, you offered Baxter some words. How about we go help them before there's another sand disaster? I don't like going in the ocean either. There's nothing wrong with that, Baxter, being scared of the ocean. Would you want to try going in just a little? I'll be there with you. Yes? Oh, now he's frowning again. This is just like when we kissed. Does he hate this idea? Baxter's near perpetual smile flattened into a thin line. He swallowed visibly. I'm gonna make sure. Okay, yeah, my mic is on. I just have to make sure, because sometimes you guys don't let me know. I'm not saying you should go for a swim. You could just get your feet wet. Feel the waves brush against your toes. He ruminated on your suggestion for several seconds. Gradually, you caught the upturned twist of his lips. Well, I suppose I could manage that. Then let's go. Let's. The two of you got up and approached the ocean's edge. As soon as the water rushed forward and tickled his skin, the air got caught in his throat and Baxter froze in place. You waited patiently. You offered him your hand. You gave him an encouraging look. Give him your hand! Give him your hand! His lip twitched and the Baxter immediately latched onto you. Moving closer, you tried not to splash him. You knew this was a huge moment for Baxter, and you were willing to give him all the time he needed. Gradually, he was able to release a calming breath. He squeezed you and offered a tentative smile. You gave him a reassuring squeeze back. Baxter inched further until the water crept up to his calf. He watched the water swirling around him as it moved with the tide, and then surprisingly, he chuckled at the sensation. This is so cute. You know, this is rather nice. Yeah. But this is as far as I go. I'm positive on that. That's okay. Right here is perfect. I'm just glad this wasn't too bad for you. As am I. Baxter stayed there and viewed the waves not from a distance, but from within their embrace. His nerves ebbed until you two were relaxed in that bubble of each other's company. At least by your side, he could enjoy the feeling of the ocean from a safe level. That oh yeah didn't feel good enough. Oh yeah! There we go. That one felt good for me. Resembling the Kool-Aid Man. Not her resembling the Kool-Aid Man. She kicked herself out of the ground with gusto. Oh yeah. Sand went flying in all directions, and a Terry-shaped imprint was left behind. Miranda yelled again, and Cove chuckled. There probably wasn't a better way to get out of that. The suddenness of the incident startled you and Baxter enough to let go of each other's hands. You didn't get to join in on burying Terry, but you didn't mind. The one-on-one time you did get with Baxter was something you wouldn't have missed. You waved cheerily to your friends, and the five of you regrouped about halfway between the towels and the destroyed tomb. Man, I'm ready to wash this off. Terry looked down at herself and laughed. She tried brushing the wet, mushy sand off, but most of it stubbornly clung on. She only succeeded in moving around where it was on her. Let's finally jump in. Yeah, that'd be great. The two of them eagerly turned their attention to the rest of the gang for your input. Baxter folded his arms across his chest.
Oh, don't worry about me. It was never my intention to swim. Please don't let that stop your fun.
He echoed the same sentiment he made to you earlier that way. Wait, what?
It's simply not my preference.
Terry squinted and thoroughly scrutinized him. She wasn't satisfied with his answer. I think I get it. You're new here, you don't know what to do in the great wide sea. Just hold on to my back and I'll take you out in the water with me. Well, I greatly appreciate the gesture. I must decline. I've experienced as much of the salty water as I want to already. Are you sure? I can totally handle it. I'm a lifeguard in training. Terry, I thought you hadn't signed up yet. Shh, I will, and that's what counts.
Yes, thank you.
Aw, but it's just so sad to leave you out. You know, me and Cove only became friends in the first place because we're beach people. You can be a beach man too, B-man.
Not B-man.
Her crestfallen gaze slid to Cove. Has he been wearing these glasses the whole time? Did I just notice that? He nodded understandingly. Surprisingly, Baxter chuckled.
I understand where you're coming from, and I'm sorry for any upset I might have caused, but please, trust me on this one, I'm perfectly fine. I may not be much of a seafaring man, but I have gone swimming before. Pools and lakes are no trouble to me.
You're okay with the lake? He's okay with lakes, but the ocean's too much? Do you know how deep lakes get, sir?
I can't believe him. In fact, I would guess I've done certain water-based activities that some of you might be too nervous to try.
Like what? What could you possibly have done that we haven't done? Cove's lips pursed. He raised his chin and stared.
He's not happy about this. He's like, get this pretentious bitch out of my face.
He raised his chin and stared, not so much threatened by Baxter's accusation, but insulted he would even make such a challenge. Yeah, you don't know how Cove got that scar. You don't know what he's been through.
Like what?
I surf. I have a dad whose entire business is about water-based activities. I went on a jet ski when I was 8. What could you have done? Baxter straightforwardly answered the question.
Skinny dipping.
Oh! Cove's jaw dropped. The suggestion left him scandalized and the reddest you'd ever seen him.
That doesn't count. So you haven't done it then. You might want to, especially since you already enjoy the water. It is rather liberating.
So you're telling me you've just been out here butt-ass naked in front of people? Okay. Noted. Baxter was making an honest recommendation. You could tell it wasn't his intention to come across mocking Cove's lack of experience there. However, Cove was still completely thrown. That suggestion of Baxter's was even worse than implying he was more confident in the water than Cove. The silent beat was broken by Miranda's embarrassed attempt to stifle her giggles with the palm of her hand. Her cheeks had grown flushed, and you knew it would be a while until she was confident enough to even dare to make eye contact with Baxter again. Terry, meanwhile, gave Baxter an impressed nod and then instantly lost all composure. She fell into a boisterous fit of laughter, holding tightly onto her own stomach. You were amused too. You were more nervous about it than Randy. You didn't think it was a big deal. Personally, it was TMI. But I'm amused. Need some water. The allergies are getting to me again. Face-palming, you shook your head in an attempt to be disapproving, but the moment you peeked at Baxter, there was no stopping the wide grin stretching ear to ear. Of course you'd been skinny dipping, and of course he was dropping that fact without hesitation in front of 4 people he hardly knew.
Did I say something wrong?
The playful note in his voice told you everything you needed to know. Baxter was fully aware and enjoying the bit of chaos he unleashed on the group. You exhaled deeply and did not comment. No one else added anything on the topic of Baxter's skinny dipping adventures either. It was back to the drawing board on what to do next. After a while, the gang mutually decided it would be best to go do something that was not water-based. 5 of you continued to have a good time. You went on a shell hunt, Miranda managed to find the biggest while you found the most colorful. Cove caught a tiny crab. Good for Cove. You did a bit of everything. There were impromptu games to just soaking up each other's company. However, after a while, you all had ran out of water, drinkable water anyway. It was decided you'd head to Cove's house or yours. Things were gathered and you started to cheerfully walk up the road. What next? I don't have anywhere to go, so it could be whatever. Same. I guess we can keep hanging out. Terry started to readjust her grip on her things. Don't sound too sure there, Cove. By this point, you could see your house. It hadn't taken you long to make the trip. The conversation continued with everyone throwing out suggestions. Are people hungry? She looked from face to face in an inspection. Cove and Miranda shrugged in concert. Baxter didn't react. No one was overtly opposed to it. I don't know if you hear my dog. Sir, what can I help you with? Do you need to go outside? No, you're not getting anything. My dog is being a little baby. If he wants treats, but he's not getting treats, at least not until stream is over. However, you weren't really starving. It wasn't quite a meal time. We could get dessert. Miranda put a finger to her lip and thought. With a smile, her voice became more confident. Yeah, that would be fun. Terry considered it and then shot Miranda a thumbs up. Sounds great to me. I can definitely go for that. I think that's a good idea. When the topic of dessert was raised, Baxter hummed with interest. This caught everyone's attention, as nothing else had drawn a comment from him in a while. If that is the next event, would we be willing to try ice cream or similar frozen treats? I like the sound of that. But why? Baxter shook his head ruefully. Truthfully, the one thing I wanted to do while I was here is to see an ice cream truck in person. My hometown doesn't have one, and neither is there one around my campus. It is a summer tradition that I have missed. You and Cole stared at him blank-faced. Miranda pressed her lips together and shot a glance at Terry. Her expression was like a stone. That was a dramatic drop in mood. Am I being goshly touristy right now? He was entirely off in the guess. Baxter could only watch helplessly as the people around him remained unusually sober. Cole voiced a consensus of the locals. I've never seen an ice cream truck either. What? Are you serious? Miranda nodded her head and Baxter's composure shifted into incredulity. Me neither. Same. Yep, me too. There is an ice cream truck in Sunset Bird. We have an ice cream stand on the shopping street. Not exactly the same, but that's how it is. I've only gone to ice cream parlors and I got ice cream from the freezer part of the grocery stores. But sometimes my family makes it homemade. Baxter grinned for once on the same ground as his new companions. I've normally only eaten it at restaurants after a meal. I've never realized that ice cream trucks were so rare. Who was eating ice cream after they get food at restaurants? Unless it's like with another treat. I'm hungry. I'm thinking about food now. It's Baxter's fault. Unexpectedly, Cole was the first to agree with Baxter. He narrowed his eyes and spoke firmly. Then yeah, let's find a truck. I've got to do it at least one time. Yeah, Baxter's onto something. We've all been missing out. Terry raised a fist in the air in a dramatic pose. There has to be an ice cream truck somewhere in California. That's good with me. Baxter brightened more, seeing his suggestion receive support. Miranda smiled at him. You could only guess at her first impression of Baxter, but given how she had relaxed around him, you imagined he was growing on her. He wasn't as exceedingly self-assured as he came across at first blush, but it was nicer when Baxter was confident. That sounds fun. Let's look it up. How do you look up an ice cream truck where there are ice cream truck locations? Miranda reached into her bag and dug around for her phone. She pulled out a hair scrunchie, not a hairy scrunchie, a hair scrunchie. A small notepad with unicorns and a bundle of chunky keychains. Her phone remained elusive. Just give me a sec. The rest of the group's mouths pulled into a tentative, hopeful grins. There was an air of slight disbelief. Cove molded over while tapping his foot. Wherever it is, we're gonna have to drive to get there. I think so. None are in town, right? And everywhere else is far away. She finally retrieved her phone and started to search on her Maps app. She tapped her screen with a frown. It's already late afternoon, too. I wonder if ice cream trucks are even still going around. Girl, ice cream trucks are still going around. Come to where I am. There's ice cream trucks still out, babes. It's October. Why are the ice cream trucks still out here? We have to believe. It's too soon to give up. Cove nodded. Patting at his pockets, they were still tellingly empty. I've got my keys. No need. Allow me. I asked to do this. It's only fair that I be the one to cover transportation. Besides, it's a rental. We may as well make the most of it while I have it. Alright. Cove raised his shoulders in a bewildered shrug. Baxter ran his fingers through his hair to swipe his bangs, and they fell exactly back into place after. I will return in only a moment. Terry shot him a thumbs up, and Miranda mumbled absent-mindedly, focused on her task. Baxter flipped towards his flipped? Man is doing flips over here? Flipped towards his condo and headed off, his strides long and determined. Oh is correct, because why the fuck is this man flipping? You know what? Let him be whimsical. I'm sorry, Baxter. I'm sorry. You should be whimsical. Cole raised his voice at Baxter's back. We'll put our stuff away while you're off doing that. Baxter peered over his shoulder and answered. Very good. Baxter was soon out of sight, and Cove had gathered up all his things into a sturdy hold. He gestured his chin to his house. We can use my place for storage. You were on board with that. You should fit your things around so they'd be more comfortable to move. Thanks, Cove. You appreciate his offer for the simple truth that his dad would care way less about the mess than your mom's. Cove led the group to fall into the Holden household. Miranda brought up the rear, stumbling behind Terry. She was being led by the arm while still keeping her eyes on her phone. Sandy towels were dropped in a heap on the living room, one after the other. No one wasted even a second with organization, taking cues from Cove's rush. I need a minute. Gonna grab a shirt. He darted down the hall, steps loud on the hard floor. Oh. You decided to get your own shirt. You decided to pick up a shawl, cover up, and wait it there. You know what? I'll get my own shirt. I'll be right back. No problem. You bounded out of the door and straight across the street. So I do live across from both of them? What is the truth? Then, careful to not track too much debris into your house, you dashed to the room at a breakneck pace. Not his orca shirt. You threw in the shirt and rejoined the others. They were already standing outside Cove's house again. Baxter's shiny black vehicle idled on the street nearby. Cove went for a seat in the back without consideration. He was not going to be in the front. Good, because that's my spot. But you would, because that's my spot. With you going to the passenger seat, Miranda and Terry followed Cove. Welcome to my car, friends. Do you know where we're going? Miranda nodded slightly and leaned forward to hold her phone up. Her persistence had bared fruit. There's some suburbs surrounding the city where ice cream trucks have routes during the summer. Can you really look that up? I can't tell exactly where they're gonna be, but when we get there, though. Okay, that makes more sense. That is more than enough. The two conferred on directions until Baxter decided to route towards a random neighborhood street in the area as a starting point. He took off, the car gliding across the road with minimum vibration affecting the cabin. In the heat of the excitement, Terry reached up from the middle seat and punched on the music. It connected to Baxter's song list, and your eardrums were struck by the pounding of a regular drum. The guitar riff shrieked out after. It was on a punk metal track. Interesting. Excuse me, can the music be changed? You turn the music up even louder. Can it be turned off? You cover your ears. You lean back in your seat, satisfied. I'm satisfied. I might even turn it up even louder. Fancy speakers system showed off, utterly encasing you in the vibrations of sound. Baxter bobbed his head to the bass. As the drive continued, the music brought an almost surreal feel to this trip. Is he giving us... Is it punk metal or is it like... Midwest emo metal? Because that, I feel like that's the vibe for summer. Summer is punk, emo, Midwest. Like Fall Out Boy. That's what I think about in the summertime. That's the music that I want to listen to. You think it's referring to you living across from Cove? Do we live across from Cove? Because they say that we're like up the street from Cove. Like, what is the truth? What is the truth? I don't trust that we live across the street from Cove either. Because it said that we did, and then it said we live next to Cove. I'm like, we can't live next to Cove and across the street from Cove. That doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense in my head. As the drive continued, the music brought almost a surreal feel to the trip. The shredding guitars and shouted lyrics were a weird contrast to your goal of finding an ice cream truck. Who were we listening to? Are we listening to Pierce the Veil? It inserted the humorous mental picture of an ice cream truck playing screaming punk metal instead of twinkling tunes to summon children for icy treats. Zipping through the length of Sunset Bird in no time, he flew past the now leaving sign. Past that, the cars zoomed down the open road, while Miranda attempted to dig up more details on the elusive ice cream trucks. Do they have socials? Maybe someone tagged them in a pic, or they're live tweeting. I don't know a single ice cream truck that has a social media. You think Cove's across the street neighbor? You refer to one of your neighbors as across the street instead of next door. See, no, that makes sense. Because if your neighbor is across the street, they don't live next door to you. Next door is literally like on your right or your left. Not on your right or your left across the street. That's not next door. That's across the street. It doesn't make sense to me in my brain. So my brain is like fighting it. Probably. Why would an ice cream truck be on Twitter? And I can't even find out their hours for sure. Ice cream trucks don't have hours, girl. They exist as they exist. I believe in you. Minutes added up, as did the miles. The city got closer, but the shadows could close in faster. The sun glinted from behind the distant skyscrapers. Calling it late afternoon was being generous. It was evening. Unspoken tension began to form. The odds of an ice cream truck being active dropped with every passing second, but Miranda continued the search and Baxter kept driving. As planned, he turned off the highway and followed the streets into the heart of the suburbs. He rolled through neighborhoods aimlessly until... Yes! Miranda beamed and shoved her phone up to the front. You found one? There's a truck that's still open and nearby. It was on Facebook. I think if we go down their route, we'll find it at some point. Amazing. Yeah, who uses Facebook? I use Facebook. But like personal Facebook, not like for me. Like not for Princess Beauregard, but for me, Princess, you know? I use it for reals because I'm not on TikTok like that. I don't like TikTok. TikTok is not for me. People who want to eat ice cream, let's go! Please direct me. I can't read the post. First, take a left at this next stop sign. Baxter clicked off the music to focus on Miranda's words. She also opened his window. Terry and Cole followed Baxter's lead, but Terry could get further and pushed her head out of the window as far as the seatbelt would let her, hands cupped around her ears. Cove would lean further out when he saw anything even kind of truck-shaped. Everyone had their ears and eyes wide open for any signs. If an ice cream truck was somewhere in the area, they weren't going to miss it. You opened yours too, you did too, and stuck your head out. You left your window shut. No, I'll open mine too. It took a second to locate the correct button on the door. It was as sleek and unobtrusive as the rest of the machine that had made it tricky to see when you didn't know where to look. You pressed it down until the glass beside you completely disappeared. At such a slow pace, the wind coming through whipped at your hair gently, pleasantly, much less nicely. A fine dust blew in from the street. You squinted against the dirt in the sun. It had sunk low enough to be perpendicular to your eye line. No! I've been blinded! Curse you, suburbs! Still, no truck to be seen. The houses you passed seemed older, probably built decades ago. Some had colorful lawn decorations and well-kept flower gardens. Others were nothing but green grass. Conversation stopped entirely once Miranda had told Baxter all he needed to know. He drove through the residential streets like a hunter on the prowl. The target could be anywhere. He turned a corner. Faint laughter filtered in through the windows. You heard birds chirping and rustling leaves, but in that moment, none of that mattered. That's not what you needed. Fingers were crossed and breaths were held. Baxter turned yet again toward the signs of life, and new sound gradually floated in from the distance. He concentrated on the high-pitched jingling tune. Was it? It had to be. It was the musical call of the ice cream truck. Nobody could see it yet, despite there being watchers on all sides, but the song got louder. Baxter followed it persistently, his fingers tightening their grip on the wheel. That jingle was the Pied Piper, and everyone was drawn in by it. That's actually such a good analogy for that, but also very terrifying because the Pied Piper stole children. The car came up to the crossroads and stopped. That instant a clamor filled the car. Everyone, even the ever-relaxed Baxter, cheered or gasped in sync. An ice cream truck drove right by in front of their very eyes. It was technically white, but covered with so many brightly colored pictures, the original paint was more of an accent. Stickers with warnings such as "Go slow" and "Watch for children" stood out in red. As recognizable characters and edible versions were in a grid, labeling them as A1 or C3 for convenient ordering. Boo! It's that kind of ice cream truck? I was hoping it was like a Mr. Softy or something like that. You know the ice cream trucks that serve soft serve ice cream? Those are the best ones with the sprinkles. Yes, those are the best ice cream trucks. I don't care for the ones that serve like ice cream in like, what are these called? They're not parentheses. Quotations, there we go. I don't care for the bubbles. I don't care for Sonic and Spider-Man. Actually, I do. I think they're really tasty. But like, I would prefer soft serve ice cream over character ice cream. It was like a moving treasure chest of frozen goodness, and the temptation was too strong for some. Still in the middle of the intersection, Cove's door popped open. "Sir, you're gonna get hit by a car!" And his seatbelt zipped up against the cushion with nothing left to protect. Cove was gone. You waited for Baxter? I'm waiting for Baxter to leap out. Terry and Miranda went after Cove. Terry, with her usual exuberance, yelled, "Oh yeah!" "Well, I appreciate their enthusiasm." He glanced at you, not taking the turn just yet. "Are you going?" "No, thanks." "You're very polite." You didn't think it was much. You weren't so impatient that you'd throw yourself out on the street or abandon the one who drove you there. The rest of them could handle that. I'm not just gonna leave my boyfriend here. How rude of me. Cove jogged after the truck. Terry cheered and waved, trying to catch the driver's attention. Miranda skipped behind her, moving her arms in wide motions. The truck lurched to a stop. They'd done it. Excellent. Excitement was plain on his face, but Baxter cautiously turned to where the truck and your friends had gone. He parked on the opposite side and the opposite end of the nearly empty street. Baxter grinned as he finally unbuckled. "Shall we?" "Let's." Ooh, these are some nice houses. I want to live here. They got a palm tree right there, too? Okay, I see you. What a mix of trees. This is very interesting. I wouldn't know. I've never been to California. You left the properly stopped vehicle and crossed the street together. The other three huddled around the large menu pasted on the broad side of the truck. As you joined the group, you could feel the anticipation of a kid on their birthday. Except it was somehow everybody's birthday at the same time. Up close, you could see the images were faded. They weren't as vibrant as they should have been, and chips of paint were flaking off. If anything, the wear and tear increased the charm. It was real, and it was just what you had imagined. You were finally experiencing a quintessential summer ritual. I wonder if is that Patrick Star right here? Is that a pencil? What is that? These are not the characters that I'm expecting to see, because none of them are characters, unless this is Knuckles. But then where's Sonic? The order window lifted and the driver gave a hearty greeting. "Good evening."
Good evening to you.
"Hi." "Hey." "Hello." "Hi. Thanks for stopping for us. Sorry for chasing you." No, thank you for stopping by. Can I get you something?" He said it. He beamed with victory, a cat who got his cream. Then he gave his first check over the options and shrugged. Not a single thing on here is ice cream like this. You got snow cones in there?
However, we do require a moment.
Of course, no problem. Take your time. That started the great ice cream discussion. Ice cream was serious business and took consideration. Miranda was firmly in the camp of actual ice cream options, making the valid point that you'd come for ice cream. Terry wasn't convinced. Neither was Cove. Getting ice cream obviously didn't mean you actually had to get ice cream. Anything from the truck counted. Not for me. The debate ended with no agreed on winner. Everyone just got what they wanted. Exactly. Mind your business. Hi again. I'd like a coconut popsicle. Ew. I'm shaming you. There's no such thing as a coconut popsicle. Sure, let me get that for you. He reached over into the freezer and pulled out the first of the treats. She handed it off to Cove and he passed her some cash. I'll have one of those snow cones. And can I have a chocolate dipped ice cream cone, please? The D4? They both received their treats, paid, and stepped away to clear the way. You decided to order a coconut popsicle. Disgusting. An ice cream cone. Oh, an ice cream taco. I've never had an ice cream taco. A frozen lemonade cup. An ice cream sandwich. Boo. I'll have an ice cream cone. Baxter, meanwhile, had yet to finish staring at the menu. With intense scrutiny, his eyes, he'd probably get like chocolate, like a vanilla chocolate swirl or something like that. With intense scrutiny, his eyes went over the rows of advertised frosty desserts long after everyone had already had theirs. It was getting awkward, especially for the lady in the truck who would be stuck there until he finally got to order something. Terry tried to break the ice, or ice cream, and cracked a joke. Get the ice cream sundae cup. Ice cream is totally white and the chocolate sauce looked almost black. She found that to be his side splitter, but it didn't even make a dent in Baxter's reverie. The world around him was lost on the palace of his mind. Baxter? Still no reaction. A new strategy was needed. Terry stuck a hand in front of his face, cutting him off for the picture taking all his attention. He blinked, and the spell was tantalizing. Treats was broken. Oh, I'm sorry. Is something the matter? That's what we wanted to ask you. You've been quiet for a while. Ah, yes, I have been. Baxter had put a hand to his chin and popped his hip out on one side. The focus had been so centered to the truck was now set upon the rest of you. With that pose and his already eccentric style, Baxter looked like a side character in a cartoony mystery game. One who was definitely not the criminal, but still needed to be cross-examined for important details. My problem is this. I'm unsure if I should get a dessert that's to my usual taste. If I do, it'd be certain to enjoy what comes from the ice cream truck. That would be nice. But on the other hand, this may happen only once. Perhaps it'd be more rewarding to get something new, an option that would be challenging to find in a common store, which will add more to the experience, indulgence, or novelty. I want to make the right choice. Girl, if you don't fucking pick something... What is this behavior? You should treat yourself to something you actually like. I'm gonna get this one, but why not get something wild? You could get more than one treat. Whatever you want, and then you can try what I got too. I think worrying about what's absolutely perfect will waste the moment. You know what, you can have some of what I got. As long as we don't get the same things, you'll be able to sample 2 different treats. Oh, well, I can't reject such generosity. In that case, my decision is made. Yay! Success! Baxter approached the truck determinedly and leaned against the counter. He spoke briefly to the patient ice cream lady, then money was exchanged. In return, he got his prize. The coveted ice cream truck treat was finally in his hand. What did he get? Baxter already explained the method of his decision-making, but what that actually amount to was a mystery. He held it up for the curious onlookers. In his grip was a damp wrapper that boldly said what laid underneath. A creamy popsicle made to look like a cute girl with bubblegum pieces in the eyes. Not him getting bubbles! She was a character from an ever-popular cartoon show, a sweet thing colored mostly by blues and yellows, and overall wildly out of place for a man like Baxter Ward to possess. He really did get bubbles. I can't. Baxter was living on the edge that evening. Can I have her bubblegum eyes? I'll take 1 bubblegum eye, please. Cove snorted a laugh. Terry applauded. You half expected an ice cream sandwich. I mean, that would make sense. But the fact that he got bubbles, I love that even more, because that's so funny. That's so unlike him. Oh yeah, you can't get that in a grocery store. You can't? I feel like I've seen a bubbles in the grocery store. It's one of the 2 things he would get. Like, have you played this before and he's like gotten an ice cream sandwich? Or at a restaurant, it'd be really hard to make yourself. You've done good, Baxter. Entirely straightforward, Baxter made his intentions known. This will be the first and last time I consume a small girl's face, ideally. Why did you say it? Why did you say that? That's hilarious. After one more thanks to your crowd, the ice cream stall slowly shut the side window, and the truck slowly began to move. Your friends shouted and waved and gave grand farewells, wishing her well on her journey, bringing treats to young and old. She beeped the horn a couple times in a cheer of her own. The truck eventually disappeared beneath the skyline, and you, along with the others, ambled across up the road towards Baxter's car with treats in hand. Miranda and Terry giggled about something you couldn't quite catch. It became apparent the minute they exchanged cones and took a lick each. Actually, using the word lick might have been generous. Terry! Yeah, because servants got him because it was either his color scheme or thinking he would like it. You can't really recall which it was. It would make sense that he would get an ice cream sandwich or like a sundae or something. A peek at Miranda's half-eaten ice cream and the vanilla and chocolate smeared all over Terry's face said all that needed to be said about the situation. Terry pitched forward, clutching her head to the cone, nearly hurtling to the ground as she pressed into her temples with both hands. Ha! Karmic justice! Brain freeze, huh? How tragic. She was so young. Cole wiped at the non-existent tears he didn't shed for Terry. He looked wistful to the sky as he dropped the hand over his heart. Oh well. You elbowed him in the ribs, and he went staggering off, clutching the most grievous wound. Then Cove pinched the edge of his popsicle stick, waving it like an accusatory finger in Terry's direction before taking a bite off the top. The regret was immediate on his face the minute he crunched down on it. He stiffened into a Cove sickle. Luckily, both Cove and Terry made full recoveries for after a minute. That's so cute. I love this. Hey everybody, I want to try stuff too. No, I don't. People can try mine too if they want. No, they can't. You offer yours to Cove, though didn't want to try anything yourself. No, I didn't. I'm going to enjoy my frozen treat quietly. Yes, thank you. You realize how few times you've actually had dessert like that all summer. It used to be something you actively strove for as a kid. Now, if Baxter hadn't suggested it, it might not have even happened. You were grateful you had the chance and intended to savor it as much as possible. And now the people are looking out the window on the street like, who are these loud-ass children? Just teenagers. Can't stand them. The others continued chatting as you clocked that there was a notably absent figure from the party. Where's my boyfriend? It was your fifth and newest addition to the group, who also happened to be the one who drove you guys here and made the plan in the first place, Baxter. Your eyes followed the retreating backs of Miranda and Terry, then to Cove, who had already started to outpace you the minute you relaxed. You attempted to see if Baxter had gone even further ahead. There were no signs of that monochromatic color scheme you'd gotten so good at spotting. A low chuckle from behind you gave away the ghost. His tone was chill as always, but it was even more fitting considering the theme of the moment, frozen delights. I wonder what it is that you're searching for, Princeton. Now that you'd noticed him again, you didn't know how you couldn't have earlier. He'd been as quiet as you were the entire time, but usually he commanded attention even when standing there. Jax, it's not time yet. Oh, why are you shaking? Why are you shaking? Don't shake. But he didn't. Instead, he hung out at the very end of the crowd, inspecting his dessert with the gravity of a man who only just faced his fear of the ocean for the first time. He slowed to a stop altogether and waved on the others when they checked on you. Jax! What? No! No. It's not dinner time, and it's not time for a snack yet. You're gonna have to wait, buddy. Baxter's walk turned into a brief jog. Aware that you were waiting and not wanting to keep you, it wasn't long before he came up from behind. You fell into step beside him. The two of you saw him as he passed a wandering glance in your direction. Hey, when exactly did you plan on coming to try mine? That was the plan. Yes, that's right. Wonder turned to relief once you made it clear you hadn't forgotten the promise. I merely intended to wait my turn. How polite. Baxter held an open palm, waiting for the pro-offered treat to be handed over. But when you moved it closer, he didn't pick up at the dessert. Instead, Baxter held your wrist, keeping the ice cream cone steady, and leaned in to try it from you directly. Okay, sir. His fingers were long and delicate, and they were cold. Thank you. You noticed your reaction and grinned deviously as he retreated to a respectable distance again. Even though he'd let go, it still felt tingly where his touch had been. Would you care to try mine? It is intriguing. Yes, please. Yes, please. Give me that bubblegum, bitch. Baxter held out the popsicle to you for your appraisal. It was flavored faintly by freezer burn and bubblegum. That was the conclusion you drew after getting a good lick of the back of his popsicle, but it didn't really taste of anything. At least, not with any certainty. Baxter watched quietly, still holding it at an angle for you to have another another try if you wished, but it didn't feel right doing it a second time. Thank you, I'm alright. Baxter withdrew his offer, trying another lick of his popsicle instead.
It's experience, no?
Well, it was hard to disagree there. It tasted strange, but you weren't sure if you enjoyed it or didn't enjoy it either. Intriguing had been the right word for it. Oh, she said it, okay. Terry waved, her snow cone as high as she called out for the both of you. When did the others get to the car? Alright, we're coming. You called to her before you and Baxter took off up the street. Terry pointed her partially melted snow cone towards Baxter as soon as he came close enough. I want to try yours too. Mine's a little slush now, but that's half the appeal. He gave his cartoon-faced popsicle to Terry, taking the paper cone in exchange. This is weird. This is too much sharing. And for reference, what is the other half? Turns your tongue blue. Didn't you get a cherry? Yup. Are you sure you didn't get the wrong one? I'm not sure about anything in this life. After they each got a chance to try the other's desserts, Baxter and Terry swapped again. Then Baxter leaned against his car hood while everyone else happily situated themselves around the area. Randy and Terry took seats on the side curb, apparently heatedly debating the possibility of blue cherry being a real flavor. It is, unfortunately, a real flavor, thanks to Gatorade. Terry had a fair argument considering raspberries weren't blue, and yet blue raspberry did exist for some reason. Blue raspberry is the superior flavor. Anything that's blue raspberry flavored, it's the best flavor. It holds, like, nothing can hold a candle to blue raspberry as a flavor. Whoever invented blue raspberry, you deserve 1,000 kisses. Cove hovered nearby, couching himself on the summer-warmed asphalt. He stretched and strained, trying to lick a stream of melted coconut popsicle running down his arm. You remember you can't lick your elbow, right? Never could. Ignoring your well-intentioned warning, he pressed on, his face squished against his forearm, tongue angling to try anyway. I can't. I can do it. It's personal now. The limits of the human body were a pain, but it was still pretty funny to watch him try to fight against it. With the absence of the ice cream truck's music and the thrill that came with that, the street seemed entirely different. Houses quietly lined the street, and now you heard the rush of the wind. Branches swayed overhead in the breeze, and leaves rustled. It didn't carry the comforting smell of sea salt. So, here we are. Terry heartily licked the side of her snow cone. She leaned on at first, the arms propped up like a raised knee. Her tongue was extremely blue now. Far away from where we belong and who knows where, camped down in front of some random suburban person's house. Miranda tilted her head back to look up at the mailbox mounted to the concrete. Rocking to one side, she craned her head to get a read of what number was on the side of it. Thank you to the fine people of 231, whatever street this is. Sure. Thanks, people of 231, whatever street. Right, and thanks for driving us all the way here, Bax. Can I call you Bax? Before you could answer, Terry sucked in a bit of air and waved it off. No, that's not right. I'll work on it. Baxter chuckled, taking another look at his popsicle. He still has his popsicle, and it hasn't melted yet? What is he doing? How is he eating this? Don't you know you have to bite into your popsicles so they don't melt too fast? Do you guys bite into your popsicles or do you lick them? Are you real or are you pretentious? If you bite into them, you're real. If you lick them, you're pretentious. I'm just saying that right now. I'm saying it. It's the truth. I'm calling you out. There's no need to thank me. It was exactly what I wanted to do. Hey, what'd you guys think of the ice cream truck? Honestly, I'm not sure this is worth all the trouble. It was totally worth it. It was nice to just enjoy the moment. The stuff tasted way better when I was a kid. It was nice to enjoy the moment. Well, that was a suitable new feather in my cap for summer traditions. For sure. The sky grew pinker and yellower, and you knew the day was going to come to a close. Somehow it felt wrong. It had gone too fast to be over. though summer never seemed long enough those days. As you were about to voice the thought, you heard the dim sound of something gurgling. That immediately replaced the words that came out. Hey, did you guys hear that? I did. Yeah, what was that? Neither of the boys replied to the question, except for shakes of the head and shrugs in the negative. There was no time for a follow-up question because the answer came in the form of psh. Water bubbled and shot up in graceful arcs all around. Droplets splattered onto paved driveways and were coming towards the sidewalk next. Sprinklers! That's so funny. No, because get off these people's lawns. Randy made a break for it, dashing to the street with the speed of an Olympian sprinter. Randy, wait up! Terry leapt to her feet, her shoes hit the concrete with wet slabs while Baxter wordlessly searched for cover himself from the surprise spray, meandering away without any urgency. Baxter even had time to finish the last bit of his cartoon-faced popsicle. You ducked behind the other side of the car. Randy, Terry, don't leave me here. You took it in stride yourself. I'm ducking behind the other side of the car. A few stray drops managed to strike you, but you were no worse for the wear. It started so quickly that there was no way to avoid all the damage. But Cove didn't even so much as flinch. He only stood to his full height with his back to the car, a popsicle stick prodding out of his mouth. He glanced over at the others and grinned as he withdrew the stick clean. How about this water-based activity? We're all still in swimsuits. Oh, well, isn't that an interesting proposition? The challenge had been issued and Baxter drew down the gauntlet. He held his own popsicle stick between his teeth, tossing his shirt off into the street with the grace of someone who'd definitely done this before. Cove's eyes popped open with shock, but he didn't allow the surprise to keep him from moving. What are they about to do? Are they about to wrestle in the sprinklers on someone's lawn? What is happening? What is happening? He darted off the lawns. As Baxter came sprinting from behind, it looked more like Cove was running away from him rather than into the sprinklers. My snow cone! Terry complained, sticking the paper cone higher in the air. She stayed well and get away from the sprinklers spray. It'll melt! Terry had a wetsuit on, but wasn't going to protect her snow cone by a long shot. Aw, come on, Terry, live a little! In spite of the fact that Miranda led the charge for cover, she was easily convinced to jump into the fray. What about the car? What about the car and the rental? The rental car? With the seats? The leather seats and the rental car? With the wet? And no one has a towel? That's crazy. That's crazy. Skipping to the sidewalk with her ice cream in tow, she waved the two boys down to stop and wait for her. Cherry settled up to your side, clutching her honestly already melted dessert. Her eyes kept going between her much-beloved treat and the sparkling sprinklers, but she seemed to have chosen to preserve the sanctity of the snow cone instead. You guys go on ahead. Everyone was laughing now, but you stayed nice and dry with Terry. Get everyone else, the sprinklers were yours. I'm gonna stay here. Don't worry about the car. It's too late. I'm already worried about the car. This is my boyfriend's rental car that he owes. Like, he paid money for this car. I'm worried about it. It was a bad idea to get soaked in the middle of nowhere, and abandoning Terry in her time of need seemed heartless. Terry smiled at you gratefully and lightly bumped her shoulder into yours. We'll support you from here, buds. It might not have been a priority for you to go running through the sprinklers with everyone else, but Terry did say you guys are going to support them from the sidelines. You cheered them on as I ran through the sprinklers. You applauded their antics on the sprinklers. You provided live sports commentary with Terry. I'm going to cheer them on. Unfortunately, there weren't traditional phrases for sprinkler running as far as you knew. Hey ho, water, you can do it? What is touching me? Oh, it's the ribbon. Terry laughed, shaking her head. Right, seasoned water athlete Terry would know what to say. She kept her hands around her mouth and screamed at the top of her lungs. Woo! Sprinklers! Terry was just nailing it today. Here, hold this. Terry passed you her snow cone and you watched as she took a few steps back to check for cars before launching herself into a cartwheel. Or at least, you thought it was going to be a cartwheel, but it was more of a Terry turtling onto the street than anything else. Randy giggled from the next lawn over. Terry had become the one being cheered. I still have questions because we're just in some random neighborhood on some person's lawn randomly, and no one is saying anything. No one's come out to the street. Like, these teenagers need to get off my lawn. While you're talking to Terry about how much longer those sprinklers are gonna go already, you hear Randy cry out in surprise. She was covering her mouth and held what remained of her crumbling sugar cone. Girl, you didn't eat that? What have y'all been doing? How long does it take you guys to eat ice cream? Maybe I'm just eating my ice cream too fast. The ice cream had fallen, abandoned to the grass. And you're gonna litter? You're gonna litter in in this nice neighborhood? Ugh. Teenagers. It was one thing to have damp ice cream, but it was another if it fell to the ground altogether. Everyone stopped except for the sprinklers on their back and forth paths and Terry Brooke. Terry was gone from your side before you even blinked. She dashed straight towards Randy like someone on a life or death mission. She slid across the grass until she got a leg up. She could get a leg up. On one knee, she lowered her snow cone, which wasn't much of a snow cone at this point, up and offering. Randy, will you do me the great honor? Oh? Randall lit up brighter than any star, giggling as she wiped the last streaks of ice cream from her fingers. She took the offered snow cone, dark hair falling forward as she smiled softly at Terry. Terry bounced up from the ground, dusting off what grass had adhered itself to her legs. You know, it was just ice cream. I would have survived. Terry was aghast, her hand at her clavicle before she reached out for the snow cone. All right, I'm taking it back then. Nope, you'd already gave it to me. Cole's eyes met yours as you turned in the direction of the boys, and he smiled, shrugging as if to say that he didn't know what to do either. The two were already invested in the new game of keep away until Cove stole it right out of their hands, only to be immediately dogpiled by both. Ah! You turned to search for Baxter to see if he was going to join the fray, but he was distracted. His attention was squarely fixed on Miranda and Terry, watching as they argued about whose snow cone it was and if Cove really had a stake in the matter.
I see.
He hummed, stroking his chin with consideration before brown eyes met yours and the thoughtful expression gave way to a lax smile. He chuckled, gesturing to them as he gave you a look to ask if it was typical, an answer to which you readily provided a big thumbs up. You gave up and joined everyone in the sprinklers. Staying Giles was the correct option, even if you stood alone. You know what? I'll go in the sprinklers. You shrugged, laughing before you abandoned your shoes in the road and Not my shoes! In the road? What if a car drives over them? These shoes are expensive. They're Gucci. I'm joking. I don't own a single Gucci shoe. I wouldn't. Gucci shoes are ugly anyway. Shoes in the road and came charging after others. Dryness be darned. Hey, nice job. For Randy? Anything. Terry beamed in reply, elbowing Cove in the ribs before the sudden hiss of another sprinkler rising from its earthly tomb reminded her of where they were. Randy shotgunned the rest of Terry's snow cone. A champion was born, damn. Terry responded by crushing the paper cone against her forehead. To Miranda's delight, though, she did get some of the syrup in her eye. Oh, wow, no, that's not good. And it wasn't long before the interlude was forgotten. Dashing and leaping resumed in earnest. But all good things must come to an end. Eventually the sprinklers retreated into the ground, and all that remained was a celebration with 5 dripping young adults. Boo! I was just getting started. It should have gone longer. Honestly, I think it went on really long for being a bunch of sprinklers. The sun was situated almost perfectly halfway below the horizon. It was probably about time to call it quits for the day. Actually, you were really sure to call it when another breeze swept by and caught on the now soaked and very cold fabric of your clothes. Shivering in place, you watched as Terry and Miranda immediately found each other again, the girls clinging desperately to each other for warmth. Cove tugged on the hem of his shirt, pinching it away from his body before allowing it to fall back into it with a wet slap. I should have taken this off before I went in. He promptly rectified that and took his shirt off, cheeks pinking with embarrassment when the girls took a break from being cold to whistle at him. Not them catcalling him. Guys, I wasn't wearing this at the beach. It's not different now. It's totally different now, Cove. It's totally different. Cove wrung the water out of it before swinging the shirt over his shoulder instead of pulling it back on again. And before anybody says anything, it's gonna be colder wearing that than not wearing it. The damage to your shirt was as bad for you as it was for him. You took it off. It's time to start stripping. It'd be more comfortable carrying it than wearing it at that point. I do regret that we did not bring our towels. He ambled into the road to pick up his abandoned shirt. Baxter then returned to the car side as did the entire gang. His shirt's probably the dirtiest right now, too, because he just threw it into the street. I must confess, I don't find it nearly as cold as you all seem to. Would any of you care to use this? His eyes met yours as Baxter offered his shirt up by its collar. Thank you, what a gentleman. I'm taking it, obviously. You draped his shirt over your shoulders like a blanket. It didn't fit quite right, and the fabric was thin, so it soaked up what water was still on you. But when you pinched the front of it closed, it kept the wind out better, and that was enough. It wasn't immediately obvious at first, but between the earthy smell of wet grass and damp asphalt, but you picked up on the scent of something heady and floral. That definitely wasn't you, and it sure wasn't this neighborhood, or Cove, or the girls either. Not him smelling like flowers. The thought was nearly put aside until you burrowed deeper in his shirt to trap what warmth you could that you realized it was probably Baxter's cologne. To the side, Terry and Miranda remained linked. Their knees were practically knocking into each other. You couldn't pry them apart with a crowbar if you tried. That had to be effective. Alright, Randy and Terry, let me in on that too. I'm cold. Baxter, you want some help warming up? You open your arms to him. Baxter laughed. He threw up his hands, relenting as he shifted for you to come closer. You made your way over without further fanfare, and he pulled you into a tight hug despite the water on him. He hadn't lied. He was warmer than you would have expected any of the others to be. But you couldn't exactly pretend that the goosebumps up and down his arms weren't there either. You rested your arms comfortably against his chest. Wait, no, it says around his waist. Where did I get against his chest from? Not me imagining in my head. I'm going to snooze the ads, because I'm going to try to get through this. You doubly confirmed the rich scent was his cologne, but you couldn't tell what the smell was exactly. It smelled pleasant, though, and you only noticed it more once you'd started to think about it. Caught up in your own reverie, you didn't notice when he leaned in closer, his lips at your ear. Oh, your thoughtfulness is appreciated, Princeton, and so is your body heat. Oh, you don't need to thank me for anything. It was a sudden cough from Cove that made you remember exactly where you were. Oh, not Cove being a little hater. When you looked from over Baxter's shoulder, Cove glanced away as he awkwardly scratched his cheek. Wow, get a room. Baxter's chest rumbled in a low laugh, nodding in agreement as he released you from his embrace. He did, however, allow his arm to settle comfortably around your shoulders. Baxter then gave the group a once-over. Miranda and Terry were still chattering their teeth, and Cove, in spite of the claims to the contrary, wasn't doing too hot either. It would be no trouble if we were to return now. I truly don't mind if the car gets wet. Randy and Terry vehemently and loudly disagreed with the suggestion. It's a rental. They'll probably charge you if we track all that water in. Not exactly. We can at least wait until we're not dripping everywhere anymore, right? Even if we're not all the way dry? He glanced at the car, then to the others. Baxter already started reaching for the door handle when they disagreed. He allowed his hand to fall to his side. I suppose it would be tragic to ruin leather upholstery. Thank you. It is kind of you to be so considerate. I am certain my acquaintance will appreciate it. Terry mouthed acquaintance to Miranda, then over to you, only to be met with an equally confused shrug from her and a knowing chuckle by you. Cove shook his head until water started flying from his hair. It splattered against the side of the car, already wet from the sprinklers earlier. Hey! Cove! If it's fine with Baxter, then we can stay a while longer. Absolutely. Staying longer didn't mean staying still, though. You and the others walked down the sidewalk, sandals and shoes squelching with the residual wetness as you made your way throughout the neighborhood. Neighborhood, but not your neighborhood. It's weird that it doesn't smell like the ocean. Cole's nose crinkled as your head perked up. He smiled as to confirm you two had been on the same page the minute he even mentioned it. I find the scent of lawn clippings rather relaxing personally. Huh? Okay. Your band of five continued to meander past the street sign, and Terry narrowly managed to avoid getting her shoe stuck in a gap in the concrete. You know something? I know a lot of somethings. Ha 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 ha. Miranda offered cheekily, grinning from ear to ear as she looked in your direction. Good work, Randy, but I don't know how we got from the beach to here. A very important quest for the ice cream, remember? She swatted Baxter in the side with her free arm. He rubbed at the place, and you wondered if it actually hurt him or if it was just for the dramatics. Hey, you can add sprinkler running to your list of water-based summer activities. And since we're talking about your past water exploits, Cole already tensed up before Terry even asked her question. How'd you end up skinny dipping anyways? That's a question for another time, because I need to get off. So I'm gonna switch scenes. And we're gonna find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I will be streaming again on Friday. But if you would like to keep up with my schedule, this is my Discord that you can join. That's where you'll find out about when I post my schedule, usually on Sundays, what games I'll be playing that week, what times I'll be playing them, and if the schedule happens to change at all. Also, oh, that's interesting. I never noticed that. I should probably fix that. Let me fix it now. There we go. I did not know I did that. So I am having a Halloween stream, and for the Halloween stream, if we get 10 subs, I'll be decorating a spooky graveyard. Yay! It'll be fun, trust me, it'll be fun. We did it before. But other than that, I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for lurking. Thank you for showing up in any way possible. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna get off. I'm not gonna raid. I don't feel like raiding today. I have a lot going on that I need to do. So yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year, and life. And I hope to see you in the next stream. Bye.